Chapter 155, versus Luo Yifan. Luo clan was very much aggrieved because of this matter. How could Luo Tian be such a fool that he dared to lay hands on Hua Menghan, but fortunately, he did not succeed. Although afterwards, Luo clan had to pay a lot just to subside this matter, but it was still better option than the destruction of the entire clan. However, Luo Tian had died and Luo clan wanted revenge badly, and though they could not lay hands on Hua Menghan, but they could crush that damned Yi Shiwen. You think you can protect Yi Shiwen? I'm going to kill him in front of you and let everyone know about the fate of those who dare to anger our Luo clan. Luo Yifan looked at Hua Menghan and said in a ferocious manner. I don't need others to protect me. Suddenly, a burst of leisurely voice came from a distance and gradually started to come nearer, and soon, a figure appeared in front of everyone. It was none other than Yi Shiwen, who was missing for almost a month. Seeing Yi Shiwen, Jing Yannan and other disciples who were familiar with Yi Shiwen exposed faint smiles on their faces, and they also saw that his cultivation had once again become very profound and immeasurably deep, totally unpredictable, and now, they could not even see through his cultivation level. Good, very good. Seeing Yi Shiwen, an intense killing intention appeared in the heart of Luo Yifan and a cruel smile appeared on his face. Now that Yi Shiwen had appeared on his own accord, he made things easier for Luo Yifan. Luo Yifan did not even ask Yi Shiwen whether he was the one who killed the members of Luo clan, because at this time, the intention to kill was storming endlessly in his chest and he needed to kill Yi Shiwen to alleviate this killing intention from his heart. In the world of martial arts, in order to lead a pious life and concentrate on achieving the higher realms, he must discard anger, joy, and all other forms of emotions, because it was said that the existence of emotions could easily dominate one's sanity, but after meeting Yi Shiwen, he had become quite impulsive as if Yi Shiwen was his ultimate nemesis. Luo Yifan immediately calculated and knew that there was a strange relationship of hatred between him and Yi Shiwen. They were the true adversaries of each other, and he must kill his nemesis, Yi Shiwen. If he did not kill Yi Shiwen, then later, he would not be able to lead a pious life and the road to practice would also become very difficult. Don't you think there's something wrong with Yi Ziwen's brain? He knows that brother Luo wants to kill him, but he still dares to appear right in front of him. What can he do? Now the trial has ended, and if he does not appear, then that would be contrary to the rules of the sect, and by that time, brother Luo can justifiably use force to deal with him. Yes, but I can see that Yi Shiwen looks very confident. Perhaps there is a degree of certainty in his action. I think he is trying to buy time until the elders and true disciples appear. At that time, it will be impossible for brother Luo to kill him. Yi Shiwen, you should have waited to emerge later until the elders arrive, but now, no one can save you from dying. Luo Yifan looked at Yi Shiwen and said. He was looking at Yi Shiwen as if he was looking at a dead man. It's too early to say that now. Yi Shiwen smiled coldly, then turned his face towards Hua Menghan and slightly bowed to show his gratitude to her for not betraying him a moment ago. Yi Shiwen, you asked for it. This time I will so thoroughly kill you, that for eternity, you won't be able to ever reincarnate. Luo Yifan said and glared at Shiwen with his eyes filled with hatred. If that's the case, then why don't you try? Yi Shiwen indifferently said, and with a clang, he took out the long blade from the scabbard on his back. The Zhen Yuan was glowing above it, which suddenly turned into blade light and rushed towards Luo Yifan. Yi Shiwen had already reached the acme level of his blade technique, and now, the power of the New Moon Beheader had gone far beyond his initial power. Perhaps now, his skill of Cold Moon Beheader technique had already surpassed the skill of the Creator itself. He had already reached the acme level of New Moon Beheader, which should allow chopping out 9 blade shadows, but at present, Yi Shiwen no longer rigidly adhered to the New Moon Beheader and could readily chop out hundreds of thousands of blade lights. Luo Yifan was completely surrounded by the endless barrage of Yi Ziwen's blade attack, and even if he casted an agility technique, he could not escape. Such an insignificant technique can only be used by an insect. I'll let you witness the might of a genuinely strong master. Luo Yifan sneered, and with a flick of his hand, a sword appeared in his hand and he instantly struck his sword towards the blade shadows, spread throughout the sky. Kwai! It could be said that this sword was simply unmatched, and in an instant, the speed of this sword attack had gone far beyond the speed of lightning. At this moment, it seemed as if the atmosphere had been stabbed and immediately punctured, however the reaction of atmosphere was too slow. His sword had already cut through the atmosphere, but it exploded a moment later, which obviously showed the insane speed of this attack. Boom! This sword attack was extremely terrifying, and along with an unparalleled terrifying breath, it instantly punctured the blade's shadows that were spread everywhere. Luo Yifan was a true master, and his experience related to his martial skills had already risen to a very profound level, to the very extreme, and with only a single glance, he immediately saw through the weakness of Yi Zaiwen's shadow blades, and under this sword attack, the blade lights started to explode everywhere in the sky, and both attacks mutually obliterated each other. Endless explosions instantly sent shock waves in all directions. This was a collision between two horrifying forces which caused even the space to distort. However, how could Yi Zaiwen's strength be so simple? In a flash, he chopped out his long blade and instantly used New Moon Beheader, and right after that, he chopped out a second time and maliciously unleashed Missing Moon Beheader, which was much more terrifying compared to the first blade attack, faster and much more precise. Almost at that moment, Luo Yifan felt a wave of murderous aura coming straight for him, and an amazing bladiki swept towards him from the air. A trace of surprise appeared on his face because he did not expect that Yi Shiwen would actually be able to attack back so quickly, and not just that, this blade technique clearly displayed a very level of understanding and comprehension, and also the conversion between various blade skills without the slightest stagnation between successive blade moves. How is this possible? Luo Yifan was somewhat baffled because he initially thought that this ant-like Yi Shiwen, who was merely a Xiantian-level warrior, would be split in half by his sword attack. Luo Yifan instantly struck his sword several times, and each of these strikes was inducing mad fluctuations of Lingqi in the atmosphere, and in a flash, the most brilliant swordlight was issued towards Yi Shiwen. The space was immediately distorted, and Yi Zaiwen's figure was completely enveloped by the endless swordlight. So fearful. Brother Luo is powerful indeed, this move is really too terrifying. It's just like the wrath of a god. With just one sword strike like this, even an entire mountain would be flattened. He is really worthy of being a true disciple, at once assumes an awe-inspiring pose and unleashes such a horrifying move. The disciples present in the surroundings suddenly exclaimed, the strength of this sword attack was terrifying and indeed worthy of being used by a true disciple. Xiantian realm and Truth realm were separated only by a layer, but according to the rumors, Yi Shiwen had massacred several masters of Xiantian 9th stage, Xiantian Great Realm and even half-step Truth level, but everyone thought that Yi Shiwen would absolutely not be able to stop this horrifying move, used by a genuine true disciple. Even the masters of Truth level would find it difficult to deal with such an incomparably violent and horrifying attack. After all, swordsmen had always been well known for their strong attacks, let alone, Yi Shiwen was merely a Xiantian-level expert. It seemed as if the whole world was coercing on Yi Shiwen. This was the so-called power and influence of the Truth realm that could mobilize the world Lingqi, just like Zhenqi. Truth-level masters could easily manipulating the world Lingqi to crush Xiantian-level masters. Boom! 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 Numerous huge air explosions occurred, setting off endless sandstorm that blew away everything. An event swept away stones with it. The swordki spread quickly like the lightning, and formed dense clouds in the sky, like a giant net, and closed off all the escape routes for Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen had to admit that Luo Yifan was genuinely powerful. In that endless sea of swordki, Yi Zaiwen's slim figure seemed like a small boat, swaying with the wind, and it seemed as if he would be submerged completely any second and get killed. Well, you can do only this much. Yi Shiwen stopped concealing his imposing aura and completely released it. A surge of terrifying aura went straight into the sky, and there were some of the world laws mixed in, clearly indicating that his terrifying imposing aura was comparable to the Masters of Truth realm. What? How can Yi Shiwen possess such a terrifying imposing aura? It is actually comparable to the Truth realm and is definitely not inferior to that of Brother Luo. How did the news never spread that he has already stepped into the Truth realm? If our sect has such a genius, then we should have already been informed about this, right? How is this possible? This is simply a miracle, a myth. He has recently joined the main sect, but he managed to become the chief of inner disciples, which was simply a miracle, and now he is comparable to the true disciples. This is simply a legend, a myth. If the news spread out, then it will certainly cause a sensation and even the sect head will be alerted. There are certainly no limits to his future achievements. All of the disciples present there were very surprised, not to mention, Hua Menghan and the others who had already met Yi Shiwen once inside the Masha territory were even more surprised, as if they had just now witnessed a miracle, especially Hua Menghan. More than a year ago, when she had seen Yi Shiwen, he was only a Hotian level warrior, but in just 1 year, he grew so terrifyingly powerful, she just could not believe it. She is also a warrior and naturally knew that it was very tough to surmount Xiantian realm. Even a genius could not do it so easily, but Yi Shiwen did it in almost a year's time. It was said that Truth Realm was a lifetime worth of goal for many disciples, but Yi Shiwen achieved it so easily. The more baffling was the fact that earlier, when Yi Shiwen killed Luo Fangyi, Hua Menghan and her friends had seen that Yi Zaiwen's strength was actually comparable to the masters of half-step Truth Realm. Suddenly, many people were giving dumbfounded looks to Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen shouted and chopped out his long blade, and once again, it seemed as if the blade's shadows completely filled the entire world. Lingqi started to surge crazily and easily suppressed the sword light coming towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Zaiwen's blade light directly crushed the sword light attack of Luo Yifan. One could see that in the face of blade light, the sword key seemed simply helpless. Chapter 156, completely suppressed Tianyuan mirror was hidden in Yi Zaiwen's body. An ordinary attack simply could not hurt him, not to mention, his body had become incomparably tough after practicing tyrant body technique. Yi Shiwen could unscrupulously attack and sustain attacks as well, disregarding his own safety, but Luo Yifan could not be so unscrupulous like him. Although Luo Yifan's body was very strong, but not so abnormally formidable like Yi Shiwen, and the uniformly powerful attacks would be able to seriously wound him. Missing Moon Beheader. Yi Shiwen summoned the Missing Moon Beheader's blade intention, which congealed several blade diagrams in the sky that started to emit endless amount of blade light in the air, which ultimately condensed into a huge blade light, and all of a sudden, it went towards Luo Yifan. Very bright and brilliant blade light filled the entire atmosphere and rushed through the air, drawing dazzling marks in the sky. Boom! Luo Yifan immediately struck his sword, which severely clashed with the blade light, and suddenly, the tremendous power present in the collision gave rise to mighty shock waves and a giant storm. Luo Yifan was blasted away and sent flying directly by the impact of this terrifying power. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, his body somersaulted several times in the midair and severely fell down on the ground. How is this possible? Luo Yifan looked incredibly at Yi Shiwen. How could he be so formidable? Even if he just stepped into the Truth Realm, he should not be so powerful. After all, he himself had stepped into the Truth Realm almost a decade ago. How was he losing to a man who recently stepped into the Truth Realm? Monster. In the end, what kind of monster was he? How could he possibly be so formidable? Monster, you have certainly been possessed by a devil, I am sure about it. You must have ventured into the depths of Masha territory, and there, you have been possessed by the Devil Emperor, who wants to subvert my Yi Yuan school. Luo Yifan suddenly shouted in a loud. How could he guess that Yi Shiwen actually possessed a mysterious space as a hidden weapon that helped him in comprehending the world laws quickly, and due to that, he was able to achieve the fighting strength of a master of Truth Realm so fast? Although Luo Yifan stepped into the Truth Realm almost 10 years earlier, but Yi Shiwen had a mysterious space, and so long as he kept on burning spirit stones and supplying Lingqi to the mysterious space unceasingly, his understanding would continue to rise exponentially. In the last few days, Yi Shiwen had almost completely burned his total stock of spirit stones, and only a mere 1,000 spirit stones remained in the stock. Thanks to that, his understanding had increased by leaps and bounds in the past few days, and right now, his fighting strength was even more than that of Luo Yifan. Although at present, Yi Zaiwen's fighting strength had not yet reached the peak of the first stage of Truth Realm, but it had already surpassed the fighting strength of Luo Yifan. Schwa! As an answer to Luo Yifan's loud shout, accompanied by a sharp piercing sound and displaying a magnificent brilliance in the sky, Yi Shiwen chopped out a terrifying blade light towards him. This time, Luo Yifan did not show his arrogance, and observed carefully without daring to take Yi Ziwen's attack head-on, and in a flash, he leapt several dozen feet back to escape the range of this blade attack. Boom! The brilliant blade light pounded on the ground, directly resulting in a more than 10 meters wide and 5 or 6 meters deep crater. In the end, what is the background of this Yi Shiwen? I initially heard that he had beheaded Luo Fangyi, which is surprising enough, and now, he is even suppressing a true disciple like Luo Yifan as if it's a child's play for him. He truly is a monster. Brother Luo's sword technique is considered as the strongest sword technique in the younger generation, but how is a newbie like Yi Shiwen oppressing him? I agree, this is just way too weird. At this strange scene, many of the spectating disciples secretly cursed in their hearts, but they seemed very amazed on the outside. He is simply a peerless genius, and his talent is so fearful, in such a short period of time, his cultivation enhanced to such an extent, this is the kind of talent which defies the heavens' will. In the future, perhaps, he will certainly enter the ranks of one of the 4 invincible disciples. Originally, everyone thought that if Luo Yifan attacked Yi Shiwen then it would certainly cause his doom. The only way out left for him would be to buy time until the elders and true disciples arrived, otherwise escaping this disaster would be impossible for Yi Shiwen. However, now, even if Luo Yifan was trying his best and going all out, he was still being completely suppressed by Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen, I admit defeat and give up on this fight. I will investigate the matter about my sister's death once again. At this time, Luo Yifan surprisingly said this, but at the same time, a sly look flashed in his eyes. The always overbearing and rampant Luo Yifan had actually admitted defeat in front of so many disciples, and he was compelled to ascend into the sky after being forced into a corner by Yi Shiwen and had nowhere left to escape. Yi Shiwen, we cannot let him escape. It is apparent from the look in his eyes that he is planning something to kill you. If you don't stop him now, he will have a respite and immediately come back to fight again. This man is strong but also has brains. If we let him escape then it will later lead to a huge hassle. At this time, Yi Mo's voice suddenly echoed in Yi Ziwen's mind. Precisely, this is a very good opportunity, since he is the one who tried to intercept you first, so it's equally fair for you to use this as a good opportunity and excuse to settle the score with him and no one can say anything. Yi Shiwen had a deadpan look on his face, but he directly chopped out his blade. He simply did not waste any time, as if Luo Yifan's words did not have any influence on him. Yi Shiwen was not a dumb person. He knew very well that Luo Yifan was trying to take advantage from this situation, so how could he possibly believe such nonsense? Yi Shiwen was chopping his long blade one after another, and rays of blade lights scattered throughout the sky, as if the multicolored sunlight was dazzling the entire sky, and the terrifying blade attack rushed towards Luo Yifan. Luo Yifan was simply depressed to death in his heart. Who would have thought that he would be suppressed by the same ant-like individual he looked down upon? Since his debut in the world of martial arts, Luo Yifan had been classified as a genius until now, as far as growth rate was considered, and now, he was considered an invincible true disciple, and he undoubtedly possessed a tyrannical strength. He never paid attention to Yi Shiwen and was quite indifferent about his strength, although Yi Shiwen might have killed Luo Fangyi as well as those other masters, but even so, he thought that a half-step truth-level master like Yi Shiwen could never be his opponent. Originally, he had always assumed that Yi Shiwen could never be his opponent and could be readily crushed like an ant, but at this moment, this ant had compelled his arrogant head to be bowed down in submission. He did not know how Yi Shiwen had managed to enhance his cultivation so dramatically in such a short time, and his heart was completely filled with hatred at his current situation. Yi Shiwen, are you really not going to give face to our Luo clan? Luo Yifan shouted while fleeing away from Yi Shiwen. A truth-level master could flee extremely fast. His figure almost turned into a blur and instantly disappeared, leaving afterimages. He rushed towards the distant horizon, and his figure seemed to have left a trail of rainbow on the horizon. In any case, I have already offended, so might as well offend all the way to the very end. Yi Shiwen remained unmoved and said, If there was a possibility, he would like less trouble. Of course, he was very much disgusted by Luo Yifan and other arrogant people, and he would certainly like to crush their arrogance. He was very much willing to teach a proper lesson to these rich shenanigans, who did not consider people as people, could betray in a blink of an eye, and could unreasonably take lives as if there was no value of human life in their eyes. No matter what you say using that glib tongue of yours, today, don't even expect to run away from me. All this time, you were searching for me to kill me, now prepare yourself to face consequences. Yi Shiwen said, and a cold look appeared on his face. His speed was not slow either, and he released several blade attacks towards escaping Luo Yifan. The blade light pierced through the sky just like a meteor, across the mountains, and went straight towards Luo Yifan as if chasing after him, while a few blade lights branched off and blocked all of his escape routes. Luo Yifan suddenly roared repeatedly. Yao Jiuzhou sword, execute this evil monster. In the hand of Luo Yifan, the sword was suddenly enveloped in endless amount of Zhen Yuan, and it seemed like his whole body had been integrated together with his sword. This was man-sword unification, which instantly broke open an endless void and went towards the blade light. Luo Yifan had already exhausted all his efforts, so he resorted to using his best shot and took direct incarnation of the sword, which seemed to have split the sky and severely collided with the blade light. Boom! An endless blast instantly engulfed the entire space, and the surrounding space seemed just like the rippling surface of water, while the Lingqi also started to shake violently in the atmosphere. Shabu! 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 Yi Shiwen continued chopping his long blade non-stop, one after another, and each time, it seemed as if the whole world would be chopped down into pieces. Yi Shiwen, today you will die. Luo Yifan's eyes were bloodshot, and his hand holding the sword had also turned bloody as he recklessly hacked his sword. The blade light released by Yi Shiwen was hacked and directly scattered in the form of world Lingqi throughout the atmosphere. From afar, Luo Yifan looked like a scarlet ancient killing god who had come to hack down and exterminate the heaven itself. Luo Yifan continued to indiscriminately hack down and scatter the blade lights released by Yi Shiwen. Whenever he would unleash his sword attack, it seemed as if the whole world would be hacked down and shattered, while a long scarlet sword key rushed through the sky which seemed to directly split the world into two halves. A cold look appeared on Yi Ziwen's face, and he instantly chopped out his long blade. A golden light shone, and an incomparably horrifying and fluctuating bladiki instantly congealed and suddenly rushed forward, as if penetrating through the world itself. Boom! The two attacks fiercely collided, and a huge explosion occurred, and its incredible might instantly caused powerful storms of Lingqi which swept across everything along with it. In the endless turmoil of Lingqi's storm, a figure was blasted away and was sent flying due to the explosion. It was Luo Yifan who could not withstand the terrifying might of this explosion and was directly sent flying. However, in the next instant, Yi Shiwen had actually arrived in front of him and then rushed ahead of him. How could he be such a tough opponent? Luo Yifan never thought that Yi Shiwen would actually turn out to be such a tough opponent. Luo Yifan's sword key swayed and firmly covered his body in order to protect him and not allow Yi Shiwen to come close. Both attacks collided in the sky and caused a massive explosion. The sword key and bladiki started to run amok and wantonly rampaging the surrounding area. The disciples watching from below immediately had to prop up Zhen Yuan in order to protect themselves, so as to avoid getting accidentally injured. After all, prevention was obviously better than cure. Yi Shiwen sneered, but he knew that as the time was passing, Luo Yifan was also falling under the wind gradually. Several small and large wounds had appeared on the body of Luo Yifan, although he was trying his best to defend, but he was still being cut and injured non-stop by Yi Shiwen. Just when Yi Shiwen was planning to give him a fatal blow, suddenly, a burst of loud shout echoed in the sky. Stop! A horrifying giant hand descended from the sky, grasped both the blade light and sword key and instantly destroyed them. Chapter 157, War of Words, Stop! A horrifying giant hand descended from the sky, grasped both the blade light and sword key and instantly destroyed them. Those extremely sharp and terrifying attacks were directly grasped in that big hand and were extinguished without a trace. There simply was no room for any resistance, and both attacks were immediately obliterated after getting caught. What are you two trying to do? A rainbow appeared in the distant sky, and in a flash, an old man in black clothes came flying and stopped in front of the two men. Elder Jing Xian, this Yi Shiwen has been possessed by the Devil Emperor in the depths of Masha territory and is basically a devil. Luo Yifan hastily said. Ah. Elder Jing Xian looked at Yi Shiwen and said in a cold voice. Yi Shiwen looked at that Elder Jing Xian and narrowed his eyes, while at this time, Yi Mo's voice echoed in his mind. Yi Shiwen, you have to be careful of this old man. I had discovered that he was hiding in a distant place, and did not come out. Before I only considered him as the elder who protects the disciples, but when Luo Yifan was trying to bully you a moment ago, he did not come out, and now that you have an upper hand, he came out. I think he has some ill intentions. Yi Shiwen secretly nodded in his heart, and there was quite a bad look in the eyes of this elder Jing Xian. He definitely had ill intentions and was planning to do something bad in the future. Why don't you speak? The elder Jing Xian asked in a cold voice. What do I need to say? Yi Shiwen indifferently said. Elder Jing Xian, he has nothing to say, he is certainly the spy of those devils. Luo Yifan stubbornly stared at Yi Shiwen with a pernicious look in his eyes. I also think that he looks very suspicious. Look how I use my soul surgery technique to search your soul and uncover all your secrets. Elder Jing Xian said about the vicious method of soul surgery technique, which was extremely malicious and was so deadly that it was rarely used to interrogate prisoners, unless the prisoner was already condemned, or it was directly used on the caught devil masters, because after the soul surgery technique was used, the entire soul would collapse. It was said that the person would go crazy or turn into a fool or directly die. When Luo Yifan heard this, he grinned fiendishly, because soon, Yi Shiwen was going to die. There was a faint thrill and pleasant sensation in his heart. Who do you think you are? You actually dared to even think about searching my soul. Yi Shiwen coldly stared at that elder Jing Xian, although he knew deep in his heart that this elder Jing Xian should be a lot stronger than him, but he was not scared even the slightest. I am now comparable to the Truth Realm Masters and soon going to get promoted as an authentic true disciple. You're just an elder and share position with me quite a bit, however, you dare to treat me like a devil spy and even mention searching my soul. You are really quite audacious. The complexion of Elder Jing Xian stayed unchanged. He knew that Yi Shiwen was aware of the truth, but this time, he was already determined that he would not let him off, otherwise a peerless genius like him would become a potential threat in the future. Yi Shiwen must never be allowed to grow, or he might bring a disaster upon him. Well, you have quite a razor-sharp mouth, kid. Elder Jing Xian sneered and said, it does not matter even if you have a glib tongue, it will be of no use today because this old man will definitely search your soul. After saying this, Elder Jing Xian congealed a big hand which was made up of world lingqi and directly slammed towards Yi Shiwen. Shwa! A dazzling blade light flashed and a shaking bladiki was instantly chopped out. Yi Shiwen definitely was not the kind of person who would sit still, and now that he knew that other party had ill intentions and wanted to kill him, it was even more impossible for him to place his own destiny in the hands of others. Boom! This long bladiki was certainly dazzling, just like the stars in a starry sky, and then, it fiercely fell towards that big gasified hand and collided. The gasified big hand was instantly split open and an endless amount of lingqi dispersed wantonly in the atmosphere. Old guy, I will sue you in front of the Elders' Council and make you die without a burial ground. Yi Shiwen shouted. If he was just an inner disciple then no would bother listening to him, but at present, he was comparable to the true disciples, though his inner state had not yet stepped into the truth realm, but he possessed the strength of truth realm, so what was the difference between him and other true disciples? The elder Jing Xian did not plan to stop, instead he started to put an even greater intensity in his attacks in order to directly kill Yi Shiwen. Stop! A loud shout came from the sky and a sharp sword key fell directly from the sky and instantly eliminated the attack of Elder Jing Xian. Everyone looked up and saw that Lin Zhantian was flying down, leaving a trail of rainbow in the sky, and started slowly descending from the clouds and said to Jing Xian, "Brother Jing Xian, brother, what made you attack a disciple?" Lin Zhantian was slowly coming more and more near. At this time, Jing Xian suddenly cursed in his heart at the unexpected appearance of Lin Zhantian, but he did not continue to attack Yi Shiwen, because now that Lin Zhantian was here, he knew that he could definitely not make a misstep. "Brother Lin, I suspect that he has been possessed by a devil and is actually their spy," Jing Xian answered. "Do you have evidence?" Lin Zhantian said. "Of course, in such a short time, this Yi Zaiwen's cultivation has actually enhanced by a great deal. Now, he is actually comparable to the true disciples. This is really very suspicious and a strong reason to suspect that he is a spy of devils." At this time, Luo Yifan said in a loud voice. "This is such a bullshit reason. Well, I can say the same about you. I can easily suspect that the dog and pig-like people of Luo clan, who are actually able to occupy high positions and are able to practice to such great extent, are certainly possessed by the devils, maybe colluding together with them in order to subvert the rule of Yi Yuan school." Yi Shiwen sneered and said, "You are courting death." Luo Yifan shouted, and it seemed as if he would once again start fighting with Yi Shiwen. "It just so happens, you just now tried to kill me to settle my old accounts with Luo clan, and I'd like to see how the Elders' Council intends to say about this matter, which considers the life and death of a truth-level disciple. Your Luo clan intended to intercept and kill me in the Masha territory, so Luo clan will have to give a proper explanation." Yi Shiwen smiled and said in a cold voice. He knew that reasoning was sometimes very important, but sometimes, it was not worth mentioning. If Yi Shiwen had been killed here, why would Luo Yifan give explanation to anyone? It was not important. Nobody would bother about a dead man, an inner disciple, and try to mess with Luo clan. But now, since Yi Shiwen did not die, the situation was completely different. Elder Council was basically the ruling place, because of the presence of sect head, Tongshen Elder, and the leaders of various peaks in the sect. Many high-level experts would basically enter the depths of space and time and stay there all year round and would not easily come out, therefore the lower-level elders were made responsible for handling matters in their absence. Of course, Elder Council was only alerted when the matter involved elders or true disciples. Although, right now, Yi Shiwen was not a true disciple, but his fighting strength was comparable to a truth-level master, and this was a sufficient reason to alert the Elders' Council. Luo Yifan's complexion suddenly turned unsightly. If it was before that Yi Shiwen had dared to speak in front of him, he would have crushed him with just a slap, but now was not the same. Yi Zaiwen's strength increased by leaps and bounds, to an extent that even he did not know the upper limit of his strength. He could not beat Yi Shiwen, neither could he talk back. All he was doing was giving a cold look to Yi Shiwen. Well, you dare to frequently shout in front of me. He is really a devil, and is definitely under the control of a devil." Elder Jing Xian shouted. The disciples standing in the surroundings were also hearing their conversation. Immediately, several doubts appeared in their hearts. It was no wonder. After all, Yi Zaiwen's strength increased way too fast, far more than the fastest point they could ever imagine. After Masha territory trial finished, his strength actually exceeded that of all core disciples, and even a true disciple like Luo Yifan was not his match anymore. They had seen with their own eyes that even a true disciple like Luo Yifan had been completely cornered by Yi Shiwen, and if Elder Jing Xian had not interfered, then perhaps, things would have been very dangerous for Luo Yifan. Yi Shiwen even had the audacity to actually challenge a super master like Jing Xian, who was actually at the third stage of Truth Realm. Was he really possessed by a devil? Elder Jing Xian, this matter of being controlled by the devil cannot be taken lightly, and we must avoid hasty judgment. If according to what you said, Luo Yifan actually tried to intercept and kill the peerless genius of our Yi Yuan school on the spot, I think he was able to do such a lunatic thing because it is actually him who is under the control of devils. Lin Zhantian lightly said, but it was actually in an undeniable tone. How can you say that? Luo Yifan has performed many merits in our Yi Yuan school. How can he possibly be a devil spy? Elder Jing Xian gritted his teeth and said, he certainly knew that their so-called evidence was simply irrational, but he never thought that Lin Zhentian would actually not give him face and would so easily debunk this affair. Today's matter is not over yet, it won't end until your Luo clan gives me an explanation about their actions. Yi Shiwen sneered and said. If there was a mistake, it was the mistake of the situation itself. Elder Jing Xian finally said in a somewhat relaxed manner, he knew that once this matter went too far and reached the ears of the Elders' Council, it would mean a lot of trouble because those old guys held major power in the sect. Then in accordance to what you say, I can also kill him when I get an opportunity, and when asked for an explanation, I can say that it's not my mistake, it's the mistake of the situation itself. Yi Shiwen said in an unforgiving manner. You do not change the subject. Now you want others to give an explanation, why don't you explain how your cultivation suddenly increased by leaps and bounds and that too so fast? Elder Jing Xian clamored and did not allow Yi Shiwen to change the subject, but he himself managed to change the subject from Luo Yifan to Yi Shiwen, by asking about the reason behind his bizarre cultivation growth. Why do I need to explain it to you? Who do you think you are? To me, you are no different than a pig who cannot understand my practice speed. Yi Shiwen rambled and simply wasn't afraid of him, because he knew that Yi Yuan school was not going to pursue this matter. Even those true disciples and elders kept many secrets from their fortuitous encounters and adventures, so long as they did not harm the integrity of the sect, Yi Yuan school would not try to investigate into their secrets. Brother Jing Xian, this matter is not something you and I can solve. Luo Yifan tried to intercept Yi Shiwen and will report this to the Elder Council. Even if Yi Shiwen also falls under suspicion, the Elder Council will pass the final judgment. You must know that it simply does not fall under your jurisdiction. Lin Zhentian said in a cold voice. Chapter 158, Qingfeng Mountain's Origins. Brother Jing Xian, this matter is not something you and I can solve. Luo Yifan tried to intercept Yi Shiwen and will report this to the Elder Council. Even if Yi Shiwen also falls under suspicion, the Elder Council will pass the final judgment. You must know that it simply does not fall under your jurisdiction. Lin Zhentian said in a cold voice. It is time that people come to know that they cannot bully the people of our Qingfeng Mountain vein. Let's go. Lin Zhentian said to Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen did not hesitate and followed Lin Zhentian, and in a flash, both of them disappeared into the horizon. Luo Yifan looked at their leaving figures and his face immediately flushed with anger. He had never hated someone so much in his entire life. He determined in his heart that Yi Shiwen must be cut to pieces. Standing on one side, the complexion on Elder Jing Xian's face did not look good. He was contemplating countermeasures because if this matter was referred to the Elders' Council, then things would no longer be so simple in the end. Yi Shiwen was flying behind Lin Zhentian, and in a while, they soon crossed a very far distance. Yi Shiwen, you really have my admiration. Lin Zhentian said. Yi Shiwen smiled, a rare embarrassed look appeared on his face. Lin Zhentian was his elder and seemed to have a great relationship with his father, and not just that, he had repeatedly saved him on several occasions, so Yi Shiwen felt very relaxed in front of him. Yi Shiwen was not as reserved in front of him as he used to be in front of others. Not to mention, Lin Zhentian had saved him many times. I do not think so. Yi Shiwen said in a polite manner, but this was obviously not true. He knew very well that both his cultivation and strength had reached a terrifying level during the time he spent in Masha territory, which far exceeded his own expectations. Although he had not yet set foot into the truth realm, but it was only a matter of time, he believed that he would be able to achieve it very soon. Your father had told me earlier that you suddenly got enlightenment one day, but I did not think that your cultivation will reach all the way to the truth realm in such a short time. Lin Zhentian said with a smile. There are rumors that ancient experts used to suddenly get enlightenment and their cultivation soared instantly. Previously I considered those rumors as myths and legends, but now after seeing you, I have to come to believe that maybe people like that actually existed. Yi Shiwen smiled but did not speak, because he knew that it was not the result of enlightenment. It was actually the mysterious space in his mind that was actually the root cause behind his cultivation increasing by leaps and bounds. But when his father had asked him, he casually said that it was due to the enlightenment, and it became the best excuse to cover up his secret because enlightenment was actually a very difficult to explain or understand. There were a lot of unexplainable things in this world, and gaining enlightenment was a way to open the door to understand these things, but it was very hard to achieve. You are very fortunate and you must cherish it, Lin Zhantian said, but in spite of your peerless talent, so long as you think that you are doing the right thing and want help from this old guy, remember I am still alive and would certainly lend a hand. I can also provide shelter to a junior like you if you are ever in danger. Yi Shiwen smiled. Lin Zhantian was a talent from over 100 years ago, and as a true master, his life was only just starting. Comparing with the lifespan of an ordinary human, he was just like a 20-years-old guy. However, Lin Zhantian was a 100-year-old genius and was actually able to reach the peak of third stage of Truth Realm. It could be said that this was a very high achievement. As far as Yi Ziwen's perception of cultivation level was concerned, now that his fighting strength increased dramatically and reached all the way to the Truth Realm, the cultivation level of other people no longer appeared blurred to him, as it used to be in the past. Truth-level masters were very enigmatic and it was difficult to ascertain their strengths, but now, their strength or cultivation level no longer looked so unfathomable to Yi Shiwen. Previously, Yi Shiwen always thought that the ancestor of Qingfeng Mountain Sub-School, Lin Zhantian, was a Xiantian-level master and must be at the peak of Xiantian 9th stage, but this time, he was able to completely understand that he was actually a truth-level master. In fact, he was at the peak of truth 3rd stage and was much stronger than Elder Jing Xian. So, when Elder Jing Xian had seen Lin Zhantian coming, he tactfully decided to pull back his hands because he knew that he was not a match of Lin Zhantian. During this time, you have developed a lot. Lin Zhantian was talking about the time period, during which, Yi Shiwen had come to the main sect and continued to cause uproars throughout the sect. As the youngest son of an old friend, he was very concerned about him, not to mention, he also wanted that Yi Shiwen must focus on practice. As long as you show enough potential and perform enough merits for the sect, Luo clan won't be able to touch you. Yi Shiwen nodded. He also knew that according to the notion of Yi Yuan school, the most important thing was talent and ability, as well as strength. Wasn't this so-called Luo clan running amok because of its strength? Similarly, if Yi Shiwen displayed exceptional strength and enough talent, then the sect would have admiration for him. At that time, Luo clan would naturally not be so reckless. It is my fault that I did not make things clear in the beginning. I did not expect that your strength would increase so fast that you would actually achieve the strength of Truth Realm. Lin Zhantian said, although our Qingfeng mountain veins are not very strong, but it has some influence, and, the founder of our Qingfeng mountain vein is among the group of Taishang elders. Yi Shiwen was surprised a moment. He did not expect that the founder of Qingfeng Mountain Sub-School was actually a Taishang elder. This was far beyond his expectation. One must know that there were very few Taishang elders in Yi Yuan schools, and not many of the sub-school were founded by Taishang elders. Except the 3 major sub-school, there were only 5 or 6 sub-schools, founded by a Taishang elder, and without exception, all of these sub-schools were considered the most formidable. Among all of the sub-schools, the Qingfeng Mountain Sub-School could only be regarded as a medium-level sub-school among so many sub-schools, so Yi Shiwen never thought that a medium-level sub-school had actually been founded by a Taishang elder. However, if Qingfeng Mountain did not have the strong backing of Yi Yuan School, then how they could even secure blood yuan fruit and other material treasures, they would already have been robbed long ago. Teacher Ancestor, His Holiness, is very satisfied from your performance. Lin Zhantian said, all these years, the arrogance of the people of Luo clan has really crossed the limit and gone too far. They dragged you in such a situation, not to mention, you are not at wrong and your actions are supported by right reasons. If people of Luo clan are not affable, then our Qingfeng mountain vein is not soft persimmon either. Lin Zhantian lightly said, but his tone was unquestionably overbearing, justifying the influence of Qingfeng mountain vein. Not to mention, it was obvious from Lin Zhantian's explanation that Qingfeng mountain vein would never allow others to hurt their disciple. Yuan School was like a crisscross of an organization and had several factions. A faction was also an organization with its own set of disciples, and these disciples also belonged to top 10 peaks. Then they had relationships with their respective sub-schools as well, and so on. Yi Shiwen was the star of Qingfeng Mountain, even if he now belonged to the main sect, but it would never change the fact that he came from Qingfeng Mountain sub-school. He was a disciple of main sect, but he was also a disciple of Qingfeng Mountain sub-school. He enjoyed the blessings of the seniors of Qingfeng Mountain but also must take the responsibility to look after the later generations. There were all kinds of complicated relations, and if one wanted to become a leader, one would have to spend a lot of time sorting out these relationships, regulating conflicts between these factions, and in the future, Yi Shiwen did not want to spend most of his time sorting out these problems and relationships. Before, I also wanted to let you grow freely, so I did not bring you with me to meet him, but now I think, you can go ahead and make a contact in advance. I will take you to meet the founder. Lin Zhantian said, "You must be very surprised knowing about the semblance of our vein, right?" Lin Zhantian read the surprised look on Yi Ziwen's face and seemed to have guessed what he was thinking at the moment. He somewhat sighed with emotion. In the past, he had a similar surprised reaction like Yi Shiwen when he had come to know about the true strength of Qingfeng Mountain vein. There were a lot of people in Yuan School who did not know about this secret. Our vein is rather special. It's not the same as the other one, because we are relatively low-key compared to them. Lin Zhantian laughed and said, "So people outside do not know that we are in this vein. Even the disciples of our own Qingfeng Mountain vein do not anything about this secret vein, because only those who have reached the truth realm are considered the members of this secret vein, but most of these truth level members are in the depths of space and time and practicing. They don't come out much often. In fact, the founder of our vein was actually the closing disciple of the patriarch of Yuan School. When he got old, he handed his legacies down to his closing disciple. This continued for generations, but we have always been relatively low-key, slowly working in the shadows," Lin Zhantian said. Seeing the confused look on Yi Ziwen's face, Lin Zhantian began to tell Yi Shiwen about the origin of this vein. The founder of Qingfeng Mountain vein was actually the youngest closing disciple of Yuan School's patriarch, who was already reaching the final years of his life. After his skill enhanced, he left Yuan School and went out. Actually, at that time, the governance of Yuan School was in the hands of the other senior closing disciples of the patriarch. The 10 great disciples had firmly grasped full control over the entire Yuan School and did not want to welcome him. After all, if he joined, then it would certainly disrupt the existing equilibrium of power, and they did not want that to happen. Qingfeng Mountain vein's founder was not willing to start a conflict with his fellow brothers and also had no interest in the struggle for power, so he left the main sect and went to the Qingfeng Mountain, where he established the Qingfeng Mountain vein and handed down all his techniques and legacies, taught by the patriarch of Yuan School himself, and it now existed as the branch of Yuan School till present. Yi Shiwen also came to understand the reason that Qingfeng Mountain vein maintained a low key because of the other 10 main veins, because they would be scared that Qingfeng Mountain vein would become extremely strong and might take away their share, so this was for the best of all. However, Yi Shiwen finally understood that no wonder there were so many similarities between Qingfeng Mountain sub-school and Yuan School's main sect, and it was also able to monopolize a treasure like Blood Yuan fruit for so many years. Chapter 159 Conference of Elders. Yi Shiwen didn't know where they were heading, was just following Lin Zhantian to the depths of Yuan School to meet the founder of Qingfeng Mountain veins. Within a deep space of Tianfeng of Yuan School, the space was very small and was only able to accommodate a large palace, and inside the palace, there was an office where high-level officials of Yuan School would gather to have discussions on various important matters. In a giant conference room, a circular round table was placed in the middle. There were many elders seated around the round table. At the midpoint of the round table, a white-robed middle-aged man was sitting. One would be surprised to see that this man's facial features looked very ordinary and very amiable, but all of the elders present there knew that they must never dare to underestimate him. Because he was the head of Yuan School, Wu Patian, the supreme leader of Yuan School, who held the fate of people of Yuan School in his grasp. Wu Patian glanced at everyone present there. among the elders, there were the merit elder, penalty elder, and many other elders had come to participate in this conference, and all of them held high positions in Yuan school, were extremely strong. In fact, even the weakest among them was a super master of truth 9th stage, and there were few who were already in the legendary realm like Wu Patian. Although they were not among the highest cultivation group of people in Yuan school, but there was no doubt that this group of people held the fate of a lot of people in Yuan school. As we all know, 10 days later, on the Qianji Island in the East China Sea, a meeting of the warriors of several major forces is going to take place, including our Yuan school. Wu Patian glanced at the crowd and lightly said, "Yes, we have received their invitation, and also received the news that the imperial family is also rushing there." A penalty elder said, "Well, this time the imperial family thinks that other people do not know the secret. In fact, how can we not know? They just want to use this devil invasion as an opportunity to form an allied force. Then the 4 sects will have joined forces under the leadership of royal family, and that would complete the real reunification." The merit elder said with a disdained look on his face. "This is something that even the founding emperor failed to achieve, and now this young emperor actually wants to do so. What a joke. Although we are not afraid of the royal family, but we really don't have an alternative. This emperor is considered as an outstanding personality of this generation and relies on the strength of dragon qi, although he is less than 100 years old, but he already possesses unfathomable skill, and I am afraid his strength is actually comparable to the legendary masters. No wonder he is ambitious enough to plan and make something work that even the late emperor couldn't achieve." Wu Patian continued to explain. "The intentions of other 3 forces are still unknown, so this time, being the team leader, you must be careful, Wang Meixing." There was a man sitting nearby Wu Patian, and one would be surprised to find that he had an appearance of a 20-year-old boy, looked very charming, and even had somewhat seductive demeanor, but he was a man. At this time, there was a malignant look on his face. Wang Meixing looked charming and pretty, but he was actually a very vicious person. It was hard to guess how many devil masters he had personally killed, and his cultivation had already reached the legendary realm. No wonder he was worthy of being the deputy head of Yuan school. "If they dare to stretch their dog paws randomly, I would love to dare and chop them off," Wang Meixing said in a murderous and imposing tone, but still looked extremely charming, though he was the owner of a manly voice. "This time, we are getting a very good opportunity to display the formidable strength of our Yuan school." Wu Patian lightly said, "Especially among inner disciples, there is a particularly good seed." "Yes, Yi Shiwen, I know, but this Yi Shiwen can also stir up trouble. Not much time has passed since he joined the main sect, but he has already offended so many people, and he has also killed a lot of elite disciples, including many of the elite core disciples." At this time, a middle-aged man dressed in brown robes said, "This person is not just an evildoer, but is also a scourge. It is best to eradicate him as early as possible." The brown-robed man continued to speak. "I also know that in such a short time, the cultivation of this kid has advanced by leaps and bounds. I suspect that he is actually a devil spy who has come to subvert our Yuan school. Tian Wushuang, what you are saying is wrong." At this time, a purple-robed old man sitting next to the brown-robed man said, "According to what you say, from now onwards, our Yuan school cannot have peerless geniuses in the future, because as long as the genius is an evildoer, we will consider that he has been under the control of devils and eradicate him. Then how will our Yuan school develop like this? Isn't our Yuan school pursuing peerless talents such as Yi Shiwen? Natural, high and absolute talent, maybe in the future, he will reach the level of the 4 invincible disciples." The purple-robed old man continued, "I have not seen such an outstanding talent ever in my life, and you want to eradicate such a disciple. Tian Wushuang, I know you are very close to the Luo clan, but you are willing to give up on such a talent for the personal gain of Luo clan. You do not deserve to work as an elder of our sect." The purple-robed man bluntly said without reservation. He was the penalty elder of Yuan school and was in charge of the penalty palace. He was an upright man and never stooped to flattery, and nothing was hidden from his eyes. Neither was he the type of person who would ignore these matters. "What did you say? How dare you insult me, you stubborn donkey?" Tian Wushuang suddenly got up from his seat and said in an angry voice. So what if I did? Luo clan is radically a nest of snakes. It has been tyrannical and domineering all these years, but that was not enough for them. Now they want to hurt Yi Shiwen. Do not think that I don't know. It was the Luo clan that stirred up trouble first. It deserves to be punished. It is simply like a cancer, deeply rooted in our Yi Yuan school and must be cut off once and forever. The penalty elder said in a cold voice. You old thing, I am not the one who is confused, but it's actually you who is not aware of things. He has continued to secretly massacre the disciples of our sect and you don't even know about all this. Tian Wushuang said with killing intent flashing in his eyes. He had stood alongside Luo clan and blatantly supported the banner of Luo clan in Yi Yuan school for so many years and held deep relationship with them. How could he take it lightly when Luo clan was being accused in front of him? Do you have evidence? The penalty elder said in an superficial manner, but disciples of Yi Yuan school had spotted Luo Yifan intercepting Yi Shiwen and this is conclusive evidence. Such a guy must be punished, otherwise, where is the dignity of the laws of our Yi Yuan school? You old thing, you think that I do not know, you just want to hinder the influence of Chu Jingkai. You know that Luo clan gives full support to him, and now you are using this matter as an excuse to disrupt the influence of Chu Jingkai because you are a supporter of Huang Luochen. Tian Wushuang pointed his finger at the penalty elder and said in an unrestrained manner. Other elders did not say anything, because the matter involved two of the four strongest true disciples. These so-called four strongest true disciples were referred to as Chu Jingkai, Huang Luochen, Shui Yen Luo, and Qi Fifan. Although all of the true disciples were basically eligible to compete for the position of the head, but there were so many people competing for just one position, so it was obvious that not just anyone could become a head, so only a small portion of true disciples, who really possessed the ability, strength and influence, were able to compete for the position of the head. And, in this generation of disciples, there were the so-called four strongest true disciples. All of them were extremely strong and had already entered half-step into the legendary realm, so basically, they were only one small step away from stepping into the legendary realm and become invincible masters. Even among the younger generation of disciples throughout the Great Yu State, they were considered among the top. These four individuals had always been considered as people who would most likely become the head someday, and even if not, they could easily become the leaders of strong veins. When these four true disciples would compete for the position of the head, many elders, and even the Taishang elders, all would place their bets, in favor of their own favorite candidates, and of course, they won't use spirit stones to place their bets but their entire being. The candidate with clear support would become the head and build his own faction along with these elders and Taishang elders. These elders and Taishang elders had extraordinary influence in the sect, and once they would unequivocally support someone, it would naturally be an enormous boost for him. They would not easily bet, but once they did, that would mean they had really recognized him as the head, and then they would also give full support to him, because from the moment they bet, their destinies got linked together with the one they bet on. Once they bet in someone's favor in order to help him win the title of head, they actually became his followers and would stay alongside him even if he ended up losing, but if he won, they would also get extraordinary benefits. This Tian Wushuang was actually one of the supporters of Chu Jingkai, and at this time, he was not scared to disclose it in front of everyone and directly shouted. Because the entire Luo clan, including Luo Yifan, was actually the supporter of Chu Jingkai, and their motive was understandable since none of their own members could compete for the position of head. Although, the ability and wisdom of Luo Yifan were quite good, but his strength was still far behind that of the four strongest true disciples, not to say, he lacked talent as well as strength when compared to them. The strength of these four disciples was almost comparable to that of the Taishang elders. Luo clan was aware of this, so it decided to give full support to Chu Jingkai. All of these four true disciples were not ordinary people. Following them naturally meant getting a lot of benefits. Luo clan was getting a lot of advantage by supporting Chu Jingkai. During the incident of Hua Menghan, Head was extremely angry that Luo clan had actually dared to attack his closing disciple. Wasn't this equivalent to provoking him, the head of entire sect? Afterward, Chu Jingkai personally went into action and finally settled this matter, although he had to pay a huge price, but Luo clan was saved thanks to him. The penalty elder was a supporter of Huang Luochen, so at this time, he was accusing Luo Yifan, just to chop off one of the supporting arms of Chu Jingkai. Everyone was aware of what was going on between these two elders, but they were unwilling to interfere, especially those who supported the other two disciples. They simply planned to stay on the sidelines and silently watch this scene. Chapter 160, Senior Yi. Everyone looked at Wu Patian. They did not know what he was thinking. After all, he was the head and sole ruler of Yi Yuan School. He could make decisions regarding the matters of Yi Yuan School, and even the Taishang elder could not directly interfere with his decisions. Yi Shiwen won't be eradicated. I believe everybody is aware of his talent that can be said as absolutely rare. Our Yi Yuan School needs talented people like him, not to mention, he has not committed any mistakes. Tian Wushuang, you go tell Luo clan that from now onwards, they are not allowed to intercept Yi Shiwen. Wu Patian said in a calm manner, but his words were like the final decree in the sect, and with this, the matter was finally over. Head, this Yi Shiwen is extremely arrogant and he even ruthlessly kills the people of his own sect, taking his peerless talent into consideration. If we allow him to grow stronger, then he would certainly bring disaster. Tian Wushuang said to validate his point. Then according to what you said, Luo clan is the biggest evil. They openly murdered one of my disciples. It is an influential clan that openly does evil deeds, and I presume everyone is aware of that. At this time, the criminal law elder suddenly said. Well, the matter arrived here and everyone has shared their opinions and views. It seemed as if Wu Patian didn't want to continue the discussion over this matter and continued to say. Yi Shiwen came out from the mysterious space present in the depths of Yi Yuan School and was flying through the void. It seemed like he was treading on a rainbow. He did not know that the matter related to him was being discussed in a special conference of elders. Although he had said that he would go the elders' council, but later, he had to go meet the founder of Qingfeng Mountain Vein. Yi Shiwen didn't know how Luo Yifan would put this matter in front of everyone, though it was him who had violated the rules of sect and openly intercepted Yi Shiwen in front of many witnesses, but Luo Yifan had been unable to hurt him. So, even if he is convicted for intercepting Yi Shiwen, he would receive small punishment. Yi Shiwen, don't expect that Yi Yuan School would give you justice. I tell you, don't keep your hopes high. Yi Mo appeared on his shoulder and said. I think that Luo Yifan is an absolutely petty guy. If you do not look for him, he will look for opportunities to deal with you. You mean strike first and gain the upper hand? Yi Shiwen asked and narrowed his eyes. People who were familiar with him knew very well that when Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes, it often meant that his heart was overflowing with killing intention. And the reason was simple. Yi Shiwen was going to participate in the competition among 5 major forces of Great Yu State, and to put it bluntly, in this gathering of major forces, a mutual show of strength was going to take place. The true disciples of these 5 forces would be coming from all around to participate in the contest, and they would ultimately determine each other's strength. There was also an old rule that the 5 forces must show mutual restraint and try not to create a situation that might lead to eruption of a large-scale tangled warfare. This competition was only a way to ascertain each other's strength, so each force would try to bring its strongest disciples to show off its strength in front of others. Yi Shiwen joined the main sect, and in a short time, his fighting strength enhanced dramatically and reached all the way up to the Truth Realm, which also gave him a chance to represent Yi Yuan School in the upcoming competition, and he was formidable enough to easily sweep away the disciples of inner and core rank like it was nothing, so in the competition, Yi Yuan School would gain a big face in front of other forces thanks to him. At that time, the sect would give large-scale incentives and rewards to him, but if Yi Shiwen had a breakthrough and stepped into the Truth Realm, then he would no longer be regarded as an inner disciple, he would become a true disciple and would also have to fight with true disciples in the competition. In short, he would no longer be the outstanding existence anymore, he would only be a bottom-level true disciple. There was no doubt that it was good for him to wait for now, but for Yi Shiwen, it could have been a rapid increase of strength in a short period, because he could easily face those truth-level devils with the help of the suppression of Tianyuan Mirror, and he could also challenge several devil masters. Masha territory was definitely a good place to practice, but he couldn't go there. And most importantly, Yi Shiwen had already consumed almost all of the spirit stones from the stock in his storage ring, leaving only a meager amount of 1,000 spirit stones, and in addition to that, his cultivation had already increased to such an extent that he was going to require a massive amount of spirit stones. Now, he needed top-grade spirit stones to withstand the high rate of consumption. However, the sect distributed top-grade spirit stones only to the true disciples, and that too once in a month. Moreover, the missions could also reward top-grade spirit stones, but these missions were generally top-ranked and were only meant for true disciples, because they were often very dangerous, and non-truth level disciples would simply die on these missions. So these extremely dangerous missions used to have strength requirements. Yi Shiwen was caught in a deadlock, and only after participating in this competition and coming back from there, he would be able to step into the truth realm and break free from this deadlock. However, as far as Yi Shiwen was concerned, it could be said that within this period of time, he actually had no means to rapidly increase his strength. Just like the main goal of Hotian masters was to strengthen the body, and for Xiantian masters, it was to transform Zhen Yuan, the main goal of truth-level masters was to interact with the world Lingqi, and a truth-level master could achieve resonance with the world Lingqi by increasing their perception of the world. In other words, the truth realm focused more on accumulation of understanding of the world. For the martial arts practitioners, the body and the understanding of heavenly laws were two indispensable parts in their practice. The body carried soul, and the world of martial arts practice was like a vast sea. The soul must cross the sea, the body was like a ship, and if the ship was sturdy and tough, there would be a higher possibility of crossing the sea. The Hotian realm and Xiantian realm could only be regarded as initial preparations for beginning the journey to cross the sea. There was shipbuilding and reinforcement until the martial artist reached the truth realm. After stepping into the truth realm, the person would learn swimming, reading nautical chart, sailing a ship, and many other necessary tasks that might be required during the journey. Legendary realm was the real start of the journey. Yi Shiwen had already completed the accumulation of Hotian and Xiantian realm. Afterwards, he had also gained some of the initial perception of the heavenly laws, but at this stage, the mysterious space would display a greater ability, because so long as there were enough spirit stones, he would be able to comprehend heavenly laws inside the mysterious space, and then, his fighting strength would be far more than others. He would become 10 times or even 100 times stronger than others. At this stage, Yi Shiwen had the advantage and could become far more stronger compared to others in a short time, but unfortunately, at the most critical time, he did not have spirit stones. For Yi Shiwen, it was like his ship ran out of fuel, and now, he could only go forward at the speed of a sailing ship. However, he didn't have an option because 1 month later, he must go to the Qianji Island, located in the East China Sea, and participate in the gathering of warriors. Thinking too much was pointless, Yi Shiwen left the depths of Yi Yuan School and went straight towards the station of Qianyu faction, but he never thought that at this time, the Qianyu courtyard looked just like a busy city marketplace, and was no longer an infrequently visited place as it used to be. A crowd of many inner disciples and core disciples had gathered outside the gate of Qianyu faction station, and they were trying to squeeze inside. Even the outer disciples were simply looking at the crowd of these inner and core disciples with envious looks in their eyes. Yi Shiwen took a quick look and saw 2 senior disciples standing as gatekeepers at the gate of Qianyu faction, maintaining order, while at this time, the new disciples had dignified appearances and there were proud looks on their faces as they were looking at the crowd of inner and core disciples. What was going on? Yi Shiwen felt somewhat strange and descended down on a rainbow light. At this time, many disciples saw him and stepped aside to make way for him, while praising out loud, "Senior Yi." At this time, even the senior disciples, who had higher ranks, did not dare to pull rank in front of Yi Shiwen and respectfully called him Senior Yi. Chapter 161, Crazy Shark 13 Pirates, Senior Yi. The voices of greeting started coming continuously that caused Yi Shiwen to feel somewhat confused. He asked the two disciples guarding the entrance of Qianyu faction station and found out that the news about him almost beheading Luo Yifan in a battle had suddenly spread throughout Yi Yuan school. Yi Shiwen went to meet the founder of Qingfeng Mountain Vein and came back late, but after coming back, he found out that the entire Yi Yuan school already knew about this news. This news had stirred the entire Yi Yuan school. This was simply a miracle, like a myth, especially for those who didn't acknowledge Yi Shiwen earlier and did not believe that he participated in the Inner Seed Disciples competition and also won the title of chief. And that was not all. The Qianyu faction that used to be an unknown faction and was in a constant danger of being exterminated by senior factions at any time was no longer the same. Yi Shiwen almost beheaded Luo Yifan in Masha territory. When the news spread across Yi Yuan school, it caused an enormous sensation and everyone was discussing this matter. Many people were shocked and weren't ready to believe, but when the Inner Seed Disciples and Core Seed Disciples came back from Masha territory, they collectively stated that they witnessed the battle between Yi Shiwen and Luo Yifan with their own eyes, and it was actually Luo Yifan who was being suppressed. If an elder had not suddenly interfered, then perhaps Luo Yifan would have been beheaded by Yi Shiwen. This finally convinced everyone, because one person might be wrong, but when so many people were collectively and decisively stating the same thing, and all of them were the elites of Yi Yuan school, so the news couldn't possibly be false, or maybe they were bored and had come together to play a joke on everyone and were actually just screwing around with them. With respect to this possibility, everyone might as well believe Yi Shiwen had already defeated Luo Yifan, not to mention they would have soon discovered, because when facing such rumors, in the past, Luo clan would quickly resolve the situation and wouldn't allow the news to spread, so it seemed as if such a thing really happened. And it actually affirmed this matter. Countless people were still in shock, while there were many smart people who already came into action and had arrived in abundance at the station of Qianyu faction. Some were here to see Yi Shiwen and witness his true capacity, some were hoping to join the Qianyu faction in order to exploit its connections and new influence, trying to get close to the original members of the faction. Of course, some of them were actually the spies of major factions and had come to keep a constant watch on the current situation of Qianyu faction, hoping to see something. And now that Yi Shiwen was finally back, he could confirm whether this news was real or hoax. However, when they saw the elegant figure of Yi Shiwen walking on a divine rainbow, they immediately knew that their guess was correct, because only true disciples could have such magical powers, and this was the power desired by numerous disciples, the so-called flight. After seeing this, even those who had been skeptical about this news all this time had no other option but to believe in it, but they also thought that perhaps Yi Shiwen was already a master of the truth realm and it could be confirmed from just seeing him flying freely and effortlessly. The chances of Yi Shiwen being a true disciple suddenly attracted the attention of many disciples. Ignoring all those who were trying to get close to him, Yi Shiwen strode straight into the entrance of the station of Qianyu faction, and even after finding out that the news had spread, he was very calm as if this was normal. In fact, in this world advocated by strength, strong people always obtain such treatment, not to mention, in their eyes. Yi Shiwen was already a true disciple of Yi Yuan school and there were only few hundred true disciples, not to forget that Yi Shiwen was very young and was still able to step into the truth realm, which meant that his future prospects were limitless. There were a lot of people who thought that Yi Shiwen might actually be able to reach the level of the 4 invincible true disciples of Yi Yuan school. His future growth was simply unlimited, unless it was absolutely necessary. A lot of people did not want to offend him. Earlier, it did not matter, because Yi Shiwen was an ordinary master of the Xiantian realm, although he was still considered strong by most people. But in the eyes of the stronger ones, he was just an ant in the group of ants, nothing but a quite formidable ant. But now it was not the same. After achieving the strength of the truth realm, Yi Shiwen definitely had the qualifications to be treated as their equal. Yi Shiwen went halfway and saw a welcome message hanging over the main building of Qianyu faction. "Little brother, you really are okay." A figure suddenly leapt up and fiercely patted on the shoulders of Yi Shiwen. And Yi Shiwen immediately cracked open his mouth to give a forced smile. At this time, Yan Qiliang and the others looked at Yi Shiwen with baffled looks in their eyes. even Yi Feng, although he wasn't so battled as others, because even if Yi Shiwen changed a lot, he was still his little brother, but this time, he didn't see him like a child, rather as someone on an equal status and greeted him from far away with a wide smile on his face. However, the one who could dare to be so slapstick with Yi Shiwen was his one and only sister, Yi Rushue. Perhaps in her heart, regardless of how powerful he had become, she still held his impression as her little brother. Now the entire Yi Yuan school is talking about you and how you fought with that Luo Yifan and almost defeated him. Yi Rushue said in a very excited manner. Yi Shiwen was such a hotshot, and she was truly proud of it. When people confirmed that the rumor was true, after saying few words to Yi Shiwen, they stayed for a while then started to leave, and soon, only Yi Shiwen and Yi Feng, the two brothers, remained in the room. You are in the limelight, but you have also become a target of public criticism, and I am afraid that soon, Yi Yuan school will start keeping an eye on you. Yi Feng said in a somewhat worried voice. He was not a cheerful person like Yi Rushue who had a blind faith on the strength of Yi Shiwen. Yi Feng was the eldest among them, he just couldn't help but worry about his younger siblings. He certainly wanted to do things to help them and always be there for them. Keeping an eye is fine, what else can they do anyway? Yi Shiwen sneered. If they intend to use their evil plans behind the scenes, then I am not a weakling either. What do you plan to do about this Luo case? I don't think that they plan to let go. Yi Shiwen was already aware of this, but even Yi Feng was able to make a correct guess. One could see that everyone was aware of the domineering arrogance of Luo clan. Rest assured, I am not afraid of Luo clan. Yi Shiwen said, I was more afraid that they will come for you, that issue was bigger. After all, Yi Shiwen now possessed the strength comparable to the true disciples of the first stage of Truth Realm, and it could be said that now he had the power to protect himself, but Yi Feng was very weak compared to him, and Yi Shiwen could not allow him to go against the Luo clan. Rest assured, we will not have any problem, we are not weaklings, and our ancestor would be protecting us so we don't need to worry. Yi Feng said with a smile. He was talking about Lin Zhantian. As long as an elder like him was around to protect them, there really was no need to worry about anything. After all, behind Lin Zhantian, there was a hidden huge influence of the Qingfeng mountain vein. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen was not worried anymore. After chatting with Yi Feng for a while, Yi Shiwen also returned to his room and began the closed-door training. It could be said that he learned a lot of things in Masha territory and needed time to slowly comprehend and sense them. Although he lacked spirit stones, making his sensibility much slower, but he was still faster than a lot of people. A day passed in a blink of an eye and the sensibility of Yi Shiwen precipitated by a significant amount. However, Yi Shiwen did not continue the closed-door training, because he obtained the news that Luo Yifan finally came out and was no longer hiding in the residence of Luo clan. The news was that he picked up a mission and went to the East China Sea to destroy the nest of Crazy Shark 13 pirates. This group called Crazy Shark 13 Pirates was quite infamous among the several pirate groups active in the East China Sea, because they were very strong. The reputation of Crazy Shark 13 Pirates was bad, and they were so infamous because their group composed of 13 brothers, all with different surnames. Their boss was actually a truth-level master, while the other 12 were at the Xiantian 9th peak. They were very strong and an ordinary expert wouldn't survive in front of their combined strength. They were hard to deal with and had been stirring up trouble in the East China Sea. Many people had long wanted to exterminate them, but they weren't strong enough for the job. These pirates were rampaging for so many years, and finally, someone sent a request to Yi Yuan School for the extermination of these pirates. And Luo Yifan was intending to pick up this task. He wanted to stay away from the sect and lie low, because after his fight with Yi Shiwen, he was facing quite a lot of accusations, many of which were from the elders, so he had to immediately come out from hiding, and he decided to take the mission to exterminate Crazy Shark 13 pirates. This news was quite secretive, but still reached Yi Shiwen. If it was before, not even a bit of this news would have fallen into the hands of Yi Shiwen, but after achieving a large-scale promotion in strength, in the eyes of many people, Yi Shiwen had become a character of great importance, and a lot of people were happy to tell this news to him in exchange for his goodwill, and among them, there were many enemies of Luo clan as well, who wanted Yi Shiwen to get rid of an influential Luo clan's member like Luo Yifan. But Yi Shiwen did not mind. After all, the key point was to get rid of Luo Yifan. It could be considered as getting rid of a latent danger, although Luo clan was a very big threat, but as far as Yi Shiwen was concerned, he planned to break them bit by bit. After getting the news, Yi Shiwen quietly tidied up to prepare for the journey, although he wanted to kill Luo Yifan, but he also did not want to get caught while launching a full-scale attack on him. Luo Yifan was an arrogant man, but when he started facing the accusations from those elders, he had to go out and lie low, but they might be keeping an eye on him. While doing this kind of thing, he needed to be careful. Moreover, Qianji Island was located in the East China Sea, so Yi Shiwen went to the Merit Palace to take the map for it, and after that, he did not wait any longer and flew towards the East China Sea. Chapter 162, Deepwater Black Serpent. The Great East China Sea was simply endless. It was difficult to see the end, and on the high altitude, Yi Shiwen was treading the rainbow light and was turning the map in his hands, while using Zhen Yuan protection cover to not get disheveled by the strong winds. This Great East China Sea was boundless, and only a distance of about 10,000 li came under the known scope of Great Yu State. Although the influence of Great Yu State was extended in a range of a few thousand li, but Yi Shiwen obtained quite a complete nautical chart from Yi Yuan School that had mapped about 1 million square kilometers of area near the sea coast. It could be said that the scope of the East China Sea known to Great Yu State was in fact nothing but the tip of an iceberg. The vastness of Great East China Sea could be imagined. And Yi Shiwen spent hundreds of sprit stones for this nautical chart. However, it also showed the position of the stronghold of Crazy Shark 13 pirates, which was perhaps a hard-to-find secret for an average person, but for a monster like Yi Yuan School, it was easily worth nothing. After all, for average people, masters of the truth realm were indeed like human gods, simply unattainable, but for Yi Yuan School, they were just like the Tolstoy deal with trouble. Therefore, it actually saved him a lot of effort, and he did not specifically have to look for the whereabouts of Luo Yifan. He just directly went in the direction of the stronghold of Crazy Shark 13 pirates. The salty sea breeze brushed again Yi Ziwen's face. He narrowed his eyes, then immediately covered his whole body with Zhen Yuan, so that even at such a fast speed, the blowing sea breeze seemed comfortable to his body. This East China Sea is really too big, Yi Shiwen said with emotion. This is nothing. Yi Mo disdainfully curled his lip and said, the greatest is the sea of stars. Each star is separated from other by an unimaginable distance, far more than what you can ever imagine. If an average resident of Zhenwujia was told about the distance between the stars, it would be like casting pearls before a swine, but Yi Shiwen was naturally not the same and already knew about this. According to the appendix on East China Sea map, there are many forces in this region. In addition to those pirates, there are many scattered martial sects, although they cannot be compared to Yi Yuan School and other several major forces, but all have their own characteristics. Not to mention, in the depths of the East China Sea, there are a lot of unusually formidable sections. It is said that there are many sects among them, which are not weaker than Yi Yuan School, and many tyrannical sects are thriving on huge continent-like islands. Yi Shiwen said. And not just these tyrannical forces, in this sea, there are lots of demon beasts as well. In short, there were many who refused to accept the laws of the land. In this sea, elixirs and heavenly treasures are endless, so the might of these demon beasts and martial sects is tyrannical, Yi Shiwen said. It also has many submarine-based spiritual pulses, and their quality is much higher compared to the quality of spiritual pulses on the land, but various demon beasts are lurking near the seabed, and it's a pity that your strength is not enough to deal with them. Otherwise, you could go there and conveniently plunder the spirit stones from those demon beasts, Yi Mo said. The demon beasts of Xiantian level had remarkable wisdom, but it could be said that there was really not much difference between truth-level demon beasts and humans. The truth-level demon beasts even used to organize armies consisting of the Xiantian-level demon beasts, carved out their own territory in the sea. They were not one bit weaker than human experts and belonged to a different kind of civilization. Immediately after killing that Luo Yifan, you can practice here for a month. Your cultivation will certainly have a huge improvement. Once you have beheaded Luo Yifan, completely eradicate all those pirates, and then, you can pillage the treasure they have gathered after roaming in the East China Sea for so many years. They must have saved up a lot of treasure, which should also contain many top-grade spirit stones, just enough for you to start practicing once again. Yi Mo said. Anyway, Qianji Island was located in the East China Sea and it would be quite convenient to reach there. It was also better for Yi Shiwen to become much stronger before participating in the competition. Moreover, the pirates of the East China Sea were like a plague. They must be eradicated completely. If not killed, then they would continue to harm innocent people. In addition to that, these pirates had plundered lots of spirit stones and other practice materials, so Yi Shiwen could use these treasures to hone his skills. Yi Shiwen was flying extremely fast and soon left the continent far behind and it slowly went out of sight. Shwa! Suddenly, a storm appeared in the distance and speeding Yi Shiwen entered this storm, when he saw that the weather was turning hostile above the sea. This storm was really too horrifying. Yi Shiwen was finding very hard to resist inside it. The Lingqi was sweeping across so fast and wildly that it could directly crush a warrior of Hotian level. Even Xiantian level warriors would find it hard to maintain a strong foothold in this storm. After Yi Shiwen strengthened the Zhen Yuan cover over his body, he directly dived into the sea water. Compared to the raging and towering waves and wild winds rushing all the way from the sea surface to the clouds, the entire seabed was very quiet and was not at all unstable, even though there were monstrous waves on the sea surface. However, inside the sea, there simply was no shred of light because of the stormy clouds in the sky and huge depth and massive amount of water over his head. The light couldn't reach so deep inside, and even Yi Shiwen could see only a little. He could only see clearly for a few meters. The distant places inside the silent sea seemed strange and could easily make people feel nervous. Then, abruptly, a fishy smell entered his nostrils and a giant shadow leapt towards Yi Shiwen. The giant shadow opened its big mouth and nipped towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen hastily stepped back in the water, however his speed was slow compared to his speed on land, although after achieving the strength of Truth Realm or later, one could breathe in the water, walk in the fire, but these were just magical powers, though powerful, but were nothing comparable to the abilities of the genuine denizens of the sea. They didn't use supernatural powers, it was all basic instinct, while for land walkers, it was obvious to lose their flexibility and speed drastically inside the water. After feeling the presence of that huge shadow, Yi Shiwen suddenly and hastily retreated, delimiting water waves inside the sea, and barely avoided being bitten by that big mouth. Yi Shiwen immediately condensed Zhen Yuan in the eyes, and a burst of golden light suddenly flashed in his eyes, increasing his eyesight considerably, and this helped him in seeing clearly compared to earlier. It was almost a 1,000 feet long black python. Its whole body was swarthy, had two huge disc-like eyes that were releasing scarlet rays of light. Yi Shiwen had to hold his breath. This was the so-called deepwater black serpent and he had read about it in the records. According to the records, deepwater black serpents were a famous race of serpents. There were innumerable deepwater black serpents in the world and could only survive in the depths of the ocean. Their race was considered very horrifying. After all, a newborn deepwater black serpent was already in the Xiantian realm, and after reaching adulthood, they usually became terrifying monsters of the truth level. Inside the sea, their race was considered very tyrannical and domineering. Some deepwater black serpents had the opportunity to swallow heavenly treasures and also had a chance to become water dragon. A water dragon was an extremely terrifying existence and was capable of causing great commotion in a major sect like Yi Yuan school. Moreover, it seemed as if this deepwater black serpent should have been awakened by the rolling storm above the sea and must have woken up from a deep slumber. Yi Shiwen, this is your rare fortune. This deepwater black serpent's whole body is a treasure. It must have been in the deep sea, perhaps in a very deep slumber. You could never have obtained a chance to see it. You should thank this storm that suddenly appeared and awakened it. Moreover, its body has just crossed the length of 1,000 feet, which indicates that it has reached the adulthood not long ago, and it also means that it has recently entered into the truth realm. Yi Mo said in an excited manner. The strength and adulthood of a deep-water black serpent was directly proportional to the length of its body. After stepping into the truth realm, the length of a deep-water black serpent could reach up to 1,000 feet. After breaking into the second stage of truth realm, its length would be able to reach 2,000 feet. Each time its skill deepened, it would shed skin and its stature increased by 1,000 feet. The most powerful deep-water black serpent almost had a body length of 10,000 feet, and one wouldn't be able to see its entire body in one glance. If Yi Shiwen ever saw a big monster like that, perhaps, even he would have to immediately turn away. He was obviously not an opponent of such a monster and would be easily killed in one tail sweep. However, even if this deep-water black serpent had just entered into the truth realm, it would be very hard for an average martial artist to deal with it. Generally speaking, the content of Jin Yuan inside the body of any living being was always proportional to the size of the body. If the body size was greater, it could store more Jin Yuan. Humankind generally reached the height of more than a meter, but this deep-water black serpent was full 700 meters long, a total of almost 700 times bigger than an average human, and hence its body contains 700 times more Jin Yuan. In addition to that, being a demon beast of truth level, its body was much stronger and formidable than that of a human. It was simply not an ordinary tough opponent. Hiss! Hiss! The hissing sound produced by the deep-water black serpent could be heard from afar. It opened its big mouth, revealing its poisonous fangs, white in color and incomparably sharp. If bitten, perhaps it could instantly pierce him to death, which was absolutely terrifying. Demon beasts of truth level already possessed very high intelligence. Yi Shiwen could even see the fierce look on its face. Yi Shiwen instantly shot coiling dragon palm. Hidden dragon rises from the abyss. A dragon's roar resounded, his palm transformed into a dragon claw and rushed straight towards the big mouth of that deep-water black serpent. Boom! Yi Shiwen felt as if his arm hit the reinforced concrete. Accompanied by a loud roar and setting off waves in the water, a figure was directly blasted away inside the water. It was actually Yi Shiwen. This deep-water black serpent did not know martial arts. Just by virtue of its solid flesh and terrifyingly strange life force, it was able to beat back the attack of Yi Shiwen. These demon beasts were really quite unique. Ordinary humans simply could not be compared with them. Yi Shiwen couldn't imagine, this deep-water black serpent was so formidable now. If it learnt various martial arts, then it would become much more terrifying. The deep-water mysterious serpent opened its big mouth and gave out a long and loud roar, which turned the sea water into water swords and went lazing toward Yi Shiwen. Each of these water swords was sturdier than a formidable master. They whistled and quickly arrived. Chapter 163, Poisonous Dragon Water Control Flag. Divine Dragon flings its tail. Yi Shiwen resorted to the most powerful move of coiling dragon palm. Palm shadows appeared everywhere and completely surrounded the water swords. Those whistling water swords were then directly scattered and obliterated. To deal with this huge demon beast, Yi Shiwen was prepared to use all of the tricks up his sleeves. Only then he would be able to completely crush this demon beast. This was kind of person Yi Shiwen actually was. An average person would choose to escape in the very beginning as soon as they encounter a truth-level demon beast like deep-water black serpent, and that too in the sea water. If Yi Shiwen was facing this demon beast on the land, then it wouldn't be so difficult to deal with it. Voila! The deep-water black serpent's tail suddenly and fiercely whipped towards Yi Shiwen, pumping seawater with the strength of millions of Jin, and instantaneously approached him. Break! Yi Shiwen shouted and chopped out his long blade, releasing a dazzling blade light of missing moon beheader, which directly rushed, cutting off water waves. Yi Shiwen swam as if flying inside the water and instantly appeared in front of the deep-water black serpent. The deep-water black serpent didn't hesitate, and without demur, it directly whipped its huge tail severely towards Yi Shiwen, as if it wanted to whip him to death. Boom! Yi Shiwen instantly used Divine Dragon flings its tail towards the giant tail of deep-water black serpent. The enormous power of the direct collision inside the seawater set off endless waves of water, rippling out layer upon layer. Once again, Yi Shiwen was almost blasted to be sent flying, but at the crucial moment, Tianyuan Mirror acted as an anchorage and saved him. Yi Shiwen secretly cursed in his heart because if Tianyuan Mirror was not there then he would have been sent flying. The fighting strength of this monster under the water was really troublesome. Begin. Yi Shiwen gave out a loud shout. Tianyuan Mirror flew out from within his body and released a terrifying scarlet light which instantly flew over towards the deep-water black serpent's head, and in a flash, the scarlet light shone over the deep-water black serpent. ZZ. This scarlet-colored light shone on the deep-water black serpent's body, and immediately, the Zhenyuan contained in its body began to be corroded by this terrifying scarlet light which was shining on its flesh and penetrating directly into its flesh, making it to give out intermittent waves of pitiful screams and roars. Its flesh and blood was getting corroded and melting, slowly transforming into bloody, scarlet light and returning to the Tianyuan Mirror. Due to that, the scarlet light of Tianyuan Mirror was flourishing and becoming more and more powerful. Yimo's figure suddenly appeared right above the Tianyuan Mirror along with a black light whizzing out of its body and used his small hands to pinch some kind of tactics unceasingly into the mirror. Under his manipulation, the might of the Tianyuan Mirror was constantly increasing and began devouring the deep-water black serpent's essence and blood even faster. Ha ha ha, this is really so cool. Yimo yelled which dancing with joy. But at this time, without the slightest hesitation, Yi Shiwen instantly shot his long knife and maliciously stabbed into the deep-water black serpent's body, and right after the long blade stabbed and went into its body, while still holding it in one hand, Yi Shiwen used his other hand to directly punch on it and plunged his blade straight into the body of the deep-water black serpent. Roar! The deep-water black serpent screamed pitifully with the intense pain, its whole body began to twitch and twist crazily while violently lashing out millions of tons of seawater in all directions. But Yimo remained radically unmoved and continued to unceasingly pinch his tactics into the Tianyuan Mirror. At this time, the true fearful might of Tianyuan Mirror fully emerged and under the control of Yimo, it could be said that this might was not one bit weaker than the might of a truth-level master at the peak of truth first stage. This kind of might was absolutely powerful and could cause complete mess. According to what Yimo said, this was because Tianyuan Mirror just now woke up from its endless sleep, so it could only display this much strength. As long as there was sufficient accumulation of energy, Yi Shiwen could quickly restore it to its true valiance. As Tianyuan Mirror was absorbed more and more essence and blood of deep-water black serpent, the scarlet patterns on Tianyuan Mirror began to become even stranger. Yi Shiwen was crazily waving his long blade inside the deep-water black serpent's body and each time, terrifying blade light was flashing inside its body. The barrage of Yi Ziwen's malicious blade attacks had completely churned the internal organs of the deep-water black serpent, although its outer skin was very hard and tough, but that was not the case for its visceral organs. Yi Shiwen was constantly using his fierce blade attacks on its soft and unprotected internal organs. The deep-water black serpent struggled for some time but was finally motionless, and it didn't take Yi Shiwen too long to find a fist-sized Niden inside the beast's body and he directly drilled it out. Yi Shiwen finally relaxed. This deep-water black serpent was indeed very difficult to deal with, however he still didn't know how many deep-sea monsters like it were lurking deep inside the sea. After the deep-water black serpent was dead, its body and blood was soon completely absorbed by the Tianyuan Mirror and vanished without a trace. Tianyuan Mirror had shown faint signs of recovery after absorbing the life essence of deep-water black serpent, and perhaps it wouldn't take long for its might to become comparable to the second stage of Truth Realm. If the might of Tianyuan Mirror became comparable with the Master of Truth's second stage, then Yi Ziwen's own strength would undoubtedly also increase by leaps and bounds and he would be able to compete with Masters of Truth's second stage. This deep-water black serpent's whole body is a treasure. Yimo said with a smile. After absorbing the blood and essence of this demon beast, he was in a good mood. It just so happens that I can refine a poisonous dragon water control flag using the poison of this deep-water black serpent as basis. After you have practiced using it, it can be said that you will be able to directly kill a Master of Truth first stage. It will also become easy for you to compete with a Master of Truth second stage, and later when you behead more of these deep-water black serpents or other poisonous beasts, then the might of poisonous dragon water control flag will greatly enhance, or after much practicing, you can form a flag array, then its might is going to be infinite. You can refine a tool. Yi Shiwen said in a somewhat surprised tone. Of course, although this is not what I most excel at, but at the same time, for me, refining a poisonous dragon water control flag is nothing but child's play. Yi Mo said in a somewhat triumphant manner. But for it to succeed, I will need your help as well. Yi Mo said, this is the Celestial Emperor tool refining tactics, go ahead, have a look. This is one of the world's greatest law tactics. Yi Mo established a connection with Yi Ziwen's mind and sent a stream of information flowing into his mind. Yi Shiwen began to frantically comprehend this so-called Celestial Emperor tool refining tactics inside the mysterious space present in his mind. Yi Shiwen had not been idling and directly crushed the Niden of Deepwater Black Serpent and began to absorb it. Although this Deepwater Black Serpent was just at the first stage of Truth Realm and had recently stepped into the Truth Realm, but its body was huge and its Naiden's inherent energy was almost 10 times more than the energy possessed by masters at the first stage of Truth Realm, or perhaps it was a few times more potent. Yi Shiwen immediately felt a thrill of horrifying energy that began to flow within his body. He instantly lost concentration and had to focus on controlling this terrifying energy that was surging inside his body, and while at the same time, he was also busy comprehending Celestial Emperor tool refining tactics. Fortunately, Yi Shiwen was already accustomed to this pattern, because from the beginning, he had been doing the same thing and was already an expert at using the mysterious space. This poisonous dragon water control flag tool was in itself a divine tool mentioned in the records of Celestial Emperor tool refining tactics, which also included many other kinds of tools that required various refining methods and variety of tricks, etc. If the word about it spread out, it was enough to cause sensation and commotion throughout the Zhen Wujie. From the very basic spirit tools, Celestial Emperor tool refining tactics contained records of complete refining methods for all kinds of tools, which made it an absolutely insane existence in this world. One must not forget that Yi Mo was indeed also a great presence in this world. And the refining method of poisonous dragon water control flag was the refining method directly created by the poisonous dragon race, one of the true dragon races, and was famous for its mercilessness and slaughtering. The might of the poisonous dragon water control flag would be simply unthinkable if it was refined out of a poisonous dragon's body. Poisonous dragon race was one of the true dragon races, and with just a casual flick of their finger, even peerless masters could be stabbed to death. Although Yi Shiwen refined poisonous dragon water control flag from a deepwater black serpent and it was only a lower-level product, but its might was very big without a doubt. Now, relying on the strength of poisonous dragon water control flag, Yi Shiwen should be able to compete with the Masters of Truth's second stage and it would certainly ensure his success. Yi Shiwen opened his eyes and the corners of his mouth curled up revealing a faint smile. It was time to find Luo Yifan and settle accounts with him. Chapter 164 Luo Yifan's Plot. Yi Shiwen was flying and seemed to be riding a rainbow and rushing towards the location on the map which was supposedly the stronghold of Crazy Shark 13 pirates. Having the nautical chart was beneficial. After flying for a day and night, Yi Shiwen finally reached the den of the Crazy Shark 13 pirates. Those Crazy Shark 13 pirates should be here somewhere. I do not know whether Luo Yifan has come or not, I should look around and see. Yi Shiwen looked from afar and saw a small island. There was a not-so-big marina on the island and there were many pirate ships docked on it. Yi Shiwen saw many pirates shuttling back and forth. Among them, there were many pirates with their strengths at Hotian 5th stage or Hotian 6th stage, not to mention there were a lot Xiantian realm masters as well and they obviously held higher ranks than those Hotian realm pirates. Yi Shiwen concealed his breath and hid behind the clouds so that it would be impossible for the pirates to discover his existence. Yi Shiwen just descended down from the sky while riding the rainbow light, but suddenly, a distant shrill piercing sound came out of the blue, and 7 men and women dressed in brilliant warrior clothing came flying while producing a sharp whistling sound. A killing intention suddenly flashed in Yi Zaiwen's eyes, because among these people, he actually noticed Luo Yifan's figure. Among these 7 individuals, besides Luo Yifan, 2 other truth-level supermasters were standing beside him. One of them appeared roughly 30 years old, quite handsome and looked valiant. His imposing aura was threatening and was dressed in a purple robe, adding to his extravagance. At his side stood a beautiful woman who appeared to be 20 years old. She was pretty and clad in pink brilliant clothing, and she appeared somewhat valiant. Besides Luo Yifan and the 2 truth-level masters, the other 4 people were quite young and were actually the masters of Xiantian Great Realm. Each of them looked powerful and certainly didn't look like some trivial masters. Although they could not fly directly, but Luo Yifan and the other 3 truth-level masters had wrapped them in a layer of Jin Yuan, so there was no problem at all. From the flower pattern on their collars, Yi Shiwen was able to tell that these 6 people were actually the disciples of Tianfeng Hall. In fact, relations between Tianfeng Hall and Yi Yuan School had always been very bad, to the extent that disciples of Tianfeng Hall couldn't stand the sight of the disciples of Yi Yuan School. If the disciples of Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall were at the same place, then a fight was bound to break out between these 2 groups. Yi Shiwen finally understood the whole thing. No wonder this Luo Yifan arrived so late, even though he set off from Yi Yuan School before him, because he initially went to gather these disciples of Tianfeng Hall and arrived so late along with them. Luo Yifan, you said that Crazy Shark 13 pirates are here, right? The masculine truth-level master suddenly said. Yes, they should be here. These Crazy Shark 13 pirates have quite a reputation in the East China Sea. They have been rampaging in these seas for almost 200 years. The treasure accumulated by them is simply difficult to imagine. The treasure must be having innumerable spirit stones. Let's first kill these pirates, then not only we can use these spirit stones to increase our sect credits, we can also replace these spirit stones for medicinal drugs, spiritual tools, and so on. Sister Shu has recently stepped into the truth realm, and this is a good opportunity to stock up for a smooth sailing ahead. Luo Yifan said. Well, this will make things comfortable and easier for junior sister apprentice Shu, and right after stepping into the truth realm, she can just take the heads of these pirates and celebrate. The masculine truth level master looked coldly at the pirates working on the marina. Brother Luo, the most important thing is to help you in massacring that Yi Shiwen. Sister Shu smiled and immediately said in a cold voice. Indeed. A cruel smile appeared on Luo Yifan's face as he said, I'm sure, that kid is not a fool, but he is the type to seek revenge for the slightest grievance, not to mention, he is cruel and ruthless as well as conniving. He will do everything possible to get rid of me, so I deliberately spilled the beans. Let people know that I am here on a mission to eradicate the Crazy Shark 13 pirates. When the time comes, he should soon get the message, and even if he does not know on his own, I have arranged so that it is specifically sent to him. Luo Yifan sneered and said in an insidious and ruthless manner, so if he is what I think he is and wants to dig up the roots of his own personality, then he will definitely show up, and at that time, we will ambush him and catch him off guard on this island. That is going to be the time of his death. Yi Shiwen was carefully hearing their conversation from the sidelines, hidden in an underground passage, and thought that this Luo Yifan really was quite vicious, but also understood him so well that based on this understanding, he even set up such a deadly trap. 3 truth-level masters had come to crush him, and if Yi Shiwen hadn't spotted them before, then perhaps, he would have been in a really tough spot after getting besieged by these 7 people. If Yi Shiwen had not arrived early and had not overheard their conversation, then he would surely have fallen into this deadly trap of Luo Yifan. According to what you have already mentioned, that Yi Shiwen is certainly not a weak guy. The masculine truth level master said. In the end, how strong is he? He is clearly stronger than me. I guess I will be able to deal with him if I team up with Sister Shu, not to mention, there is Brother Situ to help as well. With your strength of 2nd stage of Truth Realm, it should be quite easy to suppress Yi Shiwen. Luo Yifan sneered and said that Yi Shiwen has recently enhanced his strength considerably, which is somewhat strange. His growth is very fast, so I think we must get rid of him as soon as possible, otherwise, he will become extremely terrifying. Moreover, before killing him, we can also interrogate him properly and dig out the secret that helped him in enhancing his strength so fast. He definitely has been through several fortuitous adventures, poor guy, doesn't even know that we are going to seize everything from him. Chapter 164. To Luo Yifan's plot. Yi Shiwen was listening to their talks and discovered that the plan of Luo Yifan was more than just to kill him and eradicate a possible threat. Luo Yifan always had been very curious about how Yi Shiwen was able to enhance his cultivation by leaps and bounds, and that too so rapidly, and this was going to be a very good chance to capture him and discover about this secret, then seize it from him. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eye and thought that it was a good thing that he happened to be here and overheard about the conspiracy from the conversations of Luo Yifan and these people, otherwise they would probably have caught him off guard. Good, in fact, I can take care of this matter single-handedly and finish him off in one fell swoop. Feng Situ sneered and said, not only we can eradicate these crazy Shark 13 pirates and seize their stock of spirit stones to exchange for sect credits, we can also seize the treasure amassed by them for so many years, and if what you say it true and that Yi Shiwen really has a big secret, we will snatch it up from him. Brother Situ, we should begin now. A disciple of Tianfeng Hall said in an excited manner. This was going to be a great and rewarding robbery and was enough to stimulate them and make them go crazy from excitement. And, you guys are responsible to deal with those ordinary pirates. Luo Yifan and Sister Shu will be responsible for suppressing those weaker 12 members of Crazy Shark 13 pirates. Meanwhile, I will handle this so-called truth-level pirate, the boss of Crazy Shark 13 pirates. Feng Situ said, these pirates really had a bad luck this time. The 5 great forces of Great Yu State have planned the warriors' meet to take place in the East China Sea. They would naturally want to clean out some of these annoying flies, so as to avoid the possibilities of anything going wrong during the competition. It could be said that for giants like Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall, these pirates couldn't possibly pose enough threat, and to be frank, they could only be regarded as flies in front of their might. Begin. After Feng Situ severely roared, Luo Yifan and other disciples of Tianfeng Hall formed a lean in the midair and instantly dived towards the pirates. These pirates were simply like prey in front of these aggressive and bloodthirsty experts. They didn't have the capacity to resist and defend themselves, and most of them were killed in one move. Yi Shiwen coldly looked at these people slaughtering those pirates. However, he simply didn't care, because whether it was Luo Yifan and his friends from Tianfeng Hall or these pirates, each and every individual present there was his enemy, so he did not care the slightest about them. He immediately went into hiding and concealed his breath as well, and in his heart, he secretly began wondering about the means to bring all of these people in one big dragnet. But, he was quite surprised because he never expected that Luo Yifan actually had such great relations with the disciples of Tianfeng Hall. However, since they came to eliminate him, now, these Tianfeng Hall's disciples were also his enemies, and he wouldn't hesitate to eliminate them all. All sorts of plans began to surge up in Yi Ziwen's mind, one after another. Among these people, the most difficult to deal should undoubtedly be that Feng Situ, who was a super master at the second stage of Truth Realm. When compared to Luo Yifan, he was much stronger. If it was before, Yi Shiwen would surely have turned away and would never think of clashing with such a master of truth second stage, but now, the situation was no longer the same. Yi Shiwen now possessed a deadly divine tool like poisonous dragon water control flag, and relying on its strength, he should be able to deal with a master of truth second stage. However, the key point should be to focus on severely injuring Feng Situ in the very beginning, which would certainly require him to make a plan. Since they wanted to ambush Yi Shiwen, he would gladly prepare a counter-ambush from them and eradicate Luo Yifan and the others in one fell swoop. When facing the disciples of Tianfeng Hall, it was obvious that these coastal pirates were not their opponents and were quickly slaughtered. Soon, after killing them all, Luo Yifan went towards the depths of Crazy Shark 13 Island, because the stronghold of Crazy Shark 13 pirates was located in the central region of the island. Yi Shiwen followed him slowly towards the depth of island, but he didn't forget to maintain a distance of 1 kilometer. Although there was a separation of 1 kilometer, but for Yi Shiwen and other experts of truth level, considering their extremely fast speed, this distance was nothing and could be covered in an instant without any difficulty. But this was only the case for experts. As far as ordinary people were concerned, it was still a great distance. As they were going all the way in, the pirates who were trying to block them were simply not their opponents, and the entire route was quickly piled up with the corpses of these pirates. They simply had no way to fight back, and soon, Yi Shiwen followed into the depths of the island. However, the central region of the island was not the same as Yi Shiwen had imagined. It was actually a mighty palace complex and had a considerably large scale. There were a total of 13 palaces, and each of the members of Crazy Shark 13 pirates individually lived in them. However, Yi Shiwen immediately felt relaxed, although it was natural that this world of pirates was completely different from the world of ordinary humans because these were not normal human beings. In fact, in the eyes of ordinary people, it would seem like the land of deities. However, it was far worse when compared to the palace complex of Yi Yuan School. When compared to the flying fortresses of Yi Yuan School, this palace complex was simply nothing, and in comparison, it wasn't the slightest like the land of deities. The palaces seemed splendid on the outside, but on the inside, they were just like the palaces of mortal kings. And one could also see resentments and grievances hovering above the entire palace complex all year round. Bang! Suddenly, intermittent waves of fearful imposing aura began crazily welling up from the palace complex. Who are you people? How dare you intrude into my Crazy Shark 13 Pirates Island? A rumbling thunder-like voice suddenly echoed throughout the sky. Crazy Shark. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and said. Chapter 165-1, Raids the Treasure, Crazy Shark. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and said. Crazy Shark 13 pirates had 13 individuals with 13 different nicknames, but the only imposing one among them was the nickname of their boss, who was called Crazy Shark. He was the most powerful among them and was their leader as well, leading to his name gaining quite a reputation, and with the passage of time, their group gradually became well known as the Crazy Shark 13 Pirates. However, the nickname of the Crazy Shark 13 Pirates group's boss, Crazy Shark, was gradually forgotten by the people in the last few hundred years. Now, no one remembered his nickname as Crazy Shark, rather they called him the boss of Crazy Shark 13 Pirates. Not long after, terrifying fluctuations of Zhen Yuan transmitted throughout the palace complex. It seemed as if the whole world changed color in front of this horrifying Zhen Yuan. Endless amount of Lingqi congealed into several Lingqi bombs and instantly rushed toward Luo Yifan and the others and fiercely exploded one after another. Boom! Lingqi bombs exploded loudly and incessantly, sweeping out an endless storm of Lingqi in the entire area. Yi Shiwen was watching it all from a distant place. He certainly would not think that Luo Yifan and the other disciples of Tianfeng Hall would be wounded by these bombs, though these Lingqi bombs were powerful enough to blow away the ordinary masters of Xiantian realm, and these explosions would have been quite fatal for them, but as far as truth-level masters were concerned, it could be said that the explosive power of these Lingqi bombs was not enough. Sure enough, the smoke and dust gradually dispersed and Luo Yifan and the other disciples appeared unharmed and simply unaffected by the explosions. But at this time, the figures of 13 pirates suddenly came out from their respective palaces and rushed straight towards Luo Yifan and the other disciples of Tianfeng Hall. Yi Shiwen did not stay there for a long time. He circled around and went inside the lair of the Crazy Shark 13 pirates. The 13 pirate leaders were busy fighting with the group of Luo Yifan, and the weak pirates that were left behind to protect the palace complex were certainly not the opponents of Yi Shiwen. These remaining pirates were directly beheaded by him, which was an effortless job for him. Afterwards, he searched their memories and instantly found out about the whole structure of the palace complex, as well as the place where the Crazy Shark 13 pirates had hidden their treasure. Yi Shiwen directly rushed towards that place where the treasure was kept, and after going inside, the first thing he saw was a giant furnace in a room filled with medicinal pills. This is actually the best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace to refine immortality pills. Gee, this kind of thing, even among the masters of legendary realm, not everyone can have it. Emo suddenly said. One of the more important factors to weigh the standard of sex was their capability to refine immortality pills using alchemy furnace, but Yi Shuan knew that Yi Yuan school had an alchemy furnace that could at best refine immortality pills of high grade and was actually just a high-grade spiritual tool. It was obvious that it was inferior to the best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace that Yi Shuan happened to find in this treasure room. The importance of immortality pills was known to everyone in this world of martial arts. Yi Shuan also knew very well about its importance, although it could be said that Yi Zaiwen's general practice style depended mostly on piling up a stock of spirit stones. For Yi Shuan, immortality pills were basically the source of providing a supplement of Jin Yuan and healing. There were a variety of immortality pills for supplementing Jin Yuan or Jin Qi, or for healing. Yi Shuan mostly concentrated on amassing spirit stones because they were a necessary element in his practice. He had already spent massive amounts of spirit stones to be able to generate sufficient lingqi and instill it into the mysterious space, only then he was able to comprehend power techniques or enhance his cultivation. However, this style of practice was only followed by Yi Shuan model. Most people's practice styles did not require a lot of spirit stones, because the efficiency was often relatively low, although it was still much faster compared to absorbing world lingqi directly from the atmosphere. As far as the practice styles of elites and geniuses were concerned, they often tended to exchange spirit stones with immortality pills to support them during the practice. Yi Shuan had not studied refining immortality pills from an alchemy furnace, but this could not hinder him from using it, because even if he did not know how to refine immortality pills, he still had Yi Mo to help him, at least for now, and after slowly learning to refine immortality pills, things would be quite easier for him. This alchemy furnace's ancient-looking body was completely covered with various marks and inscriptions. There was actually a Jin method inscribed on its body to incite secret true flame, while there were lots of other Jin methods as well. After learning to refine immortality pills from the alchemy furnace, Yi Shuan would be able to sell a large number of immortality pills in exchange for spirit stones, and by that time, he would have a steady source of spirit stones. Also, he would not have to rely on these indirect methods of earning spirit stones which solely depended on his luck and was quite uncertain. Moreover, he would also be able to give a large number of immortality pills to the disciples of Qianyu faction that would certainly help them in enhancing their cultivation by leaps and bounds, in a short time. Haha, as long as you have this alchemy furnace in your possession, you will never lack spirit stones. And, I also know a lot of superior refining techniques, so by using this best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace, your practice speed will increase as well. Yi Mo said in a happy voice. Yi Mo Tianyuan mirror could also rely on a lot of immortality pills and recover its strength by swallowing them. Of course, this was also possible with spirit stones. Although Yi Shuan did not say, but Yi Mo was not blind, he was also silently watching that with each and every breakthrough, Yi Zaiwen's consumption of spirit stones would increase dramatically each time, not to mention, he was able to break through to his current strength at an insane speed and in a short time, and this should be related to the secret hidden in his body. Yi Mo had already guessed that it was most probably this secret hidden in Yi Zaiwen's body that compelled Tianyuan mirror to somehow recognize Yi Shuan as its owner. However, Yi Mo was very intelligent, although he knew very clearly about this, but he also knew that he must not ask. If he wouldn't ask, then Yi Shuan would naturally tell him about this someday on his own accord. However, because Yi Zaiwen's practice style required a large bundle of energy, and for that, he had to consume a lot of spirit stones to maintain the breakneck practice speed. This consumption rate was perhaps even higher than what was required to revive the Tianyuan mirror, so Yi Mo could not ask for spirit stones from Yi Shuan. But, now the situation was no longer the same. As long as Yi Shuan had this alchemy furnace that could refine as many immortality pills as he wanted, he would be able to refine various kinds of dan as well. In fact, things like He Dan were simply not worth mentioning. If he had sufficient raw materials and ingredients, these things could be refined in this alchemy furnace. In this way, his Tianyuan mirror could recover at a much quicker speed. Thinking of this, Yi Mo suddenly became excited again. Tianyuan mirror immediately flew in the air, and that alchemy furnace, along with various kinds of immortality pills spread throughout the treasure room, was directly sucked inside the Tianyuan mirror. There was a very large space inside the Tianyuan mirror. It could be said that it was so large and it was just like a self-contained world, and Yi Mo was the lord of this world, which displayed his majestic existence. Although, the appearance of this world had declined now, but the space available in this world was much larger than the storage space of the storage ring of Yi Shiwen. So, Yi Shiwen took out all of the things from his storage ring and stored them inside the large world of Tianyuan mirror. In addition to alchemy furnace and various immortality pills, Yi Shiwen also looted all kinds of treasures from the treasure room. Among them, there were lots of pseudo-spiritual tools, low-grade spiritual tools, and he continued to take spiritual tools one after another. As for Yi Shiwen, a low-grade spiritual tool was only of little use, but this utility was not great, but he could use so many of these tools to develop the strength of Qianyu faction, so he thought that it would a good choice to give these tools to the members of his faction. Yi Shiwen seized a variety of spirit stones, including some low-grade spirit and spirit stones, almost a total of 100,000 spirit stones. He also looted a total of 20,000 top-grade spirit stones. He was satisfied because he was in a serious need of top-grade spirit stones. In such a short time, the entire treasure amassed by the Crazy Shark 13 pirates for so many years had now fallen in the hands of Yi Shiwen. When Luo Yifan and the disciples of Tianfeng Hall would come inside the room to check out the treasure, they would surely be irritated. On the outside, the fighting sounds were getting more and more intense and then slowly began to fade away and gradually stopped. Yi Shiwen knew that the fight between Luo Yifan's group and pirates should be coming to an end very soon. In order to ambush them, Yi Shiwen hastily went to the side, restrained his breath and began to quietly wait for them. Boom! With a loud noise, the entire palace complex suddenly collapsed, and the silhouette of a person also maliciously collapsed along with it, dropping down from the sky. The sturdy body of Crazy Shark was hit by a streamer that blasted into his body and directly crushed his cervical vertebra. He was unable to breathe and ultimately died. After that, Luo Yifan and the others arrived at the scene, led by Feng Situ. Haha, we finally killed that Crazy Shark, now his treasure is ours. A disciple shouted loudly in a happy voice. Search this Crazy Shark's memory, where has he hidden his treasure, completely search his memories. Feng Situ immediately said with a ruthless look on his face. However, Yi Shiwen did not wait for him to continue. Suddenly, a shadow instantly turned into a streamer and directly pierced the body of Feng Situ. ZZ. The layer of protective cover, made up of Jin Yuan, on Feng Situs' body actually started giving out buzzing sound and began to corrode, and with just a slight pause for a moment, the corrosion instantly spread throughout his body. Ah! Feng Situ screamed out pitifully while the toxin instantly spread all over his body, causing his complexion to suddenly turn pale from the intense pain. Along with the feeling of dizziness, he almost directly fainted. There is an enemy. Feng Situ was only able to shout few words, then finally saw that a strange double-edged flag had pierced into his body. As his voice faded, he actually saw that the flag embedded in his body started to suddenly release large amounts of toxic gas, and the toxic gas instantly filled the surrounding area of over a radius of hundreds of meters. When the disciples of Tianfeng Hall, who were at the Xiantian Great Realm, came in contact with this toxic gas, their whole bodies were corroded and turned into a pile of bones. The toxicity of this gas was simply hard to imagine. Even Luo Yifan and Sister Shu were instantly affected by the poison, but fortunately, their reaction speed was much faster than those disciples of Xiantian Great Realm. Moreover, their strength was also much higher. The toxic gas spread out very fast and filled the surrounding area, stopping them to move freely. Scatter out. Luo Yifan severely bellowed and agitated the Jin Yuan throughout his body. It seemed as if his clothes were filled with air and bulged out, followed by a surge of terrifying blast of Jin Yuan that instantly dispersed the toxic gas. Who actually dares to attack us? Luo Yifan shouted in an angry tone. They were planning to ambush someone else here, but he never thought that they would be the ones to get ambushed instead. This feeling was simply very depressing. Go to hell. Yi Shiwen shouted in a loud voice and chopped out his blade. Thousands of blade light appeared and instantly formed a dense and severe rain of dazzling blades, directly falling towards Luo Yifan to chop him down into pieces. What, Yi Shiwen, it's actually you. Luo Yifan did not expect that the one to ambush him would actually be Yi Shiwen. How was this possible? How could Yi Shiwen possibly be hiding here to ambush him? Luo Yifan, you actually conspired against me. Yi Shiwen sneered disdainfully and said, I have already ripped your plot into shreds. Die! Luo Yifan severely roared in and raised his sword towards the rain of blade light. Boom! Chapter 165-1, Raids the Treasure, Crazy Shark. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes and said. Crazy Shark 13 pirates had 13 individuals with 13 different nicknames, but the only imposing one among them was the nickname of their boss, who was called Crazy Shark. He was the most powerful among them and was their leader as well, leading to his name gaining quite a reputation, and with the passage of time, their group gradually became well known as the Crazy Shark 13 Pirates. However, the nickname of the Crazy Shark 13 Pirates group's boss, Crazy Shark, was gradually forgotten by the people in the last few hundred years. Now, no one remembered his nickname as Crazy Shark, rather they called him the boss of Crazy Shark 13 Pirates. Not long after, terrifying fluctuations of Jin Yuan transmitted throughout the palace complex. It seemed as if the whole world changed color in front of this horrifying Jin Yuan. Endless amount of Lingqi congealed into several Lingqi bombs and instantly rushed toward Luo Yifan and the others and fiercely exploded one after another. Boom! Lingqi bombs exploded loudly and incessantly, sweeping out an endless storm of Lingqi in the entire area. Yi Shiwen was watching it all from a distant place. He certainly would not think that Luo Yifan and the other disciples of Tianfeng Hall would be wounded by these bombs, though these Lingqi bombs were powerful enough to blow away the ordinary masters of Xiantian realm, and these explosions would have been quite fatal for them, but as far as truth-level masters were concerned, it could be said that the explosive power of these Lingqi bombs was not enough. Sure enough, the smoke and dust gradually dispersed and Luo Yifan and the other disciples appeared unharmed and simply unaffected by the explosions. But at this time, the figures of 13 pirates suddenly came out from their respective palaces and rushed straight towards Luo Yifan and the other disciples of Tianfeng Hall. Yi Shiwen did not stay there for a long time. He circled around and went inside the lair of the Crazy Shark 13 pirates. The 13 pirate leaders were busy fighting with the group of Luo Yifan, and the weak pirates that were left behind to protect the palace complex were certainly not the opponents of Yi Shiwen. These remaining pirates were directly beheaded by him, which was an effortless job for him. Afterwards, he searched their memories and instantly found out about the whole structure of the palace complex, as well as the place where the Crazy Shark 13 pirates had hidden their treasure. Yi Shiwen directly rushed towards that place where the treasure was kept, and after going inside, the first thing he saw was a giant furnace in a room filled with medicinal pills. This is actually the best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace to refine immortality pills. Gee, this kind of thing, even among the masters of legendary realm, not everyone can have it. Yi Mo suddenly said. One of the more important factors to weigh the standard of sects was their capability to refine immortality pills using alchemy furnace, but Yi Shiwen knew that Yi Yuan school had an alchemy furnace that could at best refine immortality pills of high grade and was actually just a high-grade spiritual tool. It was obvious that it was inferior to the best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace that Yi Shiwen happened to find in this treasure room. The importance of immortality pills was known to everyone in this world of martial arts. Yi Shiwen also knew very well about its importance, although it could be said that Yi Zaiwen's general practice style depended mostly on piling up a stock of spirit stones. For Yi Shiwen, immortality pills were basically the source of providing a supplement of Jin Yuan and healing. There were a variety of immortality pills for supplementing Jin Yuan or Jin Qi, or for healing. Yi Shiwen mostly concentrated on amassing spirit stones because they were a necessary element in his practice. He had already spent massive amounts of spirit stones to be able to generate sufficient lingqi and instill it into the mysterious space, only then he was able to comprehend power techniques or enhance his cultivation. However, this style of practice was only followed by Yi Shiwen model. Most people's practice styles did not require a lot of spirit stones, because the efficiency was often relatively low, although it was still much faster compared to absorbing world lingqi directly from the atmosphere. As far as the practice styles of elites and geniuses were concerned, they often tended to exchange spirit stones with immortality pills to support them during the practice. Yi Shiwen had not studied refining immortality pills from an alchemy furnace, but this could not hinder him from using it, because even if he did not know how to refine immortality pills, he still had Yi Mo to help him, at least for now, and after slowly learning to refine immortality pills, things would be quite easier for him. This alchemy furnace's ancient-looking body was completely covered with various marks and inscriptions. There was actually a Jin method inscribed on its body to incite secret true flame, while there were lots of other Jin methods as well. After learning to refine immortality pills from the alchemy furnace, Yi Shiwen would be able to sell a large number of immortality pills in exchange for spirit stones, and by that time, he would have a steady source of spirit stones. Also, he would not have to rely on these indirect methods of earning spirit stones which solely depended on his luck and was quite uncertain. Moreover, he would also be able to give a large number of immortality pills to the disciples of Qianyu faction that would certainly help them in enhancing their cultivation by leaps and bounds, in a short time. Haha, as long as you have this alchemy furnace in your possession, you will never lack spirit stones. And, I also know a lot of superior refining techniques, so by using this best quality spiritual tool ranked alchemy furnace, your practice speed will increase as well. Yi Mo said in a happy voice. Yi Mo Tianyuan mirror could also rely on a lot of immortality pills and recover its strength by swallowing them. Of course, this was also possible with spirit stones. Although Yi Shiwen did not say, but Yi Mo was not blind, he was also silently watching that with each and every breakthrough, Yi Zaiwen's consumption of spirit stones would increase dramatically each time, not to mention, he was able to break through to his current strength at an insane speed and in a short time, and this should be related to the secret hidden in his body. Yi Mo had already guessed that it was most probably this secret hidden in Yi Zaiwen's body that compelled Tianyuan mirror to somehow recognize Yi Shiwen as its owner. However, Yi Mo was very intelligent, although he knew very clearly about this, but he also knew that he must not ask. If he wouldn't ask, then Yi Shiwen would naturally tell him about this someday on his own accord. Chapter 165-2 raids the treasure. However, because Yi Zaiwen's practice style required a large bundle of energy, and for that, he had to consume a lot of spirit stones to maintain the breakneck practice speed. This consumption rate was perhaps even higher than what was required to revive the Tianyuan mirror, so Yi Mo could not ask for spirit stones from Yi Shiwen. But, now the situation was no longer the same. As long as Yi Shiwen had this alchemy furnace that could refine as many immortality pills as he wanted, he would be able to refine various kinds of dan as well. In fact, things like He Dan were simply not worth mentioning. If he had sufficient raw materials and ingredients, these things could be refined in this alchemy furnace. In this way, his Tianyuan mirror could recover at a much quicker speed. Thinking of this, Yi Mo suddenly became excited again. Tianyuan mirror immediately flew in the air, and that alchemy furnace, along with various kinds of immortality pills spread throughout the treasure room, was directly sucked inside the Tianyuan mirror. There was a very large space inside the Tianyuan mirror. It could be said that it was so large and it was just like a self-contained world, and Yi Mo was the lord of this world, which displayed his majestic existence. Although, the appearance of this world had declined now, but the space available in this world was much larger than the storage space of the storage ring of Yishuan. So, Yishuan took out all of the things from his storage ring and stored them inside the large world of Tianyuan mirror. In addition to alchemy furnace and various immortality pills, Yishuan also looted all kinds of treasures from the treasure room. Among them, there were lots of pseudo-spiritual tools, low-grade spiritual tools, and he continued to take spiritual tools one after another. As for Yishuan, a low-grade spiritual tool was only of little use, but this utility was not great, but he could use so many of these tools to develop the strength of Qianyu faction, so he thought that it would a good choice to give these tools to the members of his faction. Yishuan seized a variety of spirit stones, including some low-grade spirit and spirit stones, almost a total of 100,000 spirit stones. He also looted a total of 20,000 top-grade spirit stones. He was satisfied because he was in a serious need of top-grade spirit stones. In such a short time, the entire treasure amassed by the Crazy Shark 13 pirates for so many years had now fallen in the hands of Yishuan. When Luo Yifan and the disciples of Tianfeng Hall would come inside the room to check out the treasure, they would surely be irritated. On the outside, the fighting sounds were getting more and more intense and then slowly began to fade away and gradually stopped. Yishuan knew that the fight between Luo Yifan's group and pirates should be coming to an end very soon. In order to ambush them, Yishuan hastily went to the side, restrained his breath and began to quietly wait for them. Boom! With a loud noise, the entire palace complex suddenly collapsed and the silhouette of a person also maliciously collapsed along with it, dropping down from the sky. The sturdy body of Crazy Shark was hit by a streamer that blasted into his body and directly crushed his cervical vertebra. He was unable to breathe and ultimately died. After that, Luo Yifan and the others arrived at the scene, led by Feng Situ. Haha, we finally killed that Crazy Shark, now his treasure is ours. A disciple shouted loudly in a happy voice. Search this Crazy Shark's memory, where has he hidden his treasure, completely search his memories. Feng Situ immediately said with a ruthless look on his face. However, Yishuan did not wait for him to continue. Suddenly, a shadow instantly turned into a streamer and directly pierced the body of Feng Situ. ZZ. The layer of protective cover, made up of Zhenyuan, on Feng Situs' body actually started giving out buzzing sound and began to corrode, and with just a slight pause for a moment, the corrosion instantly spread throughout his body. Ah! Feng Situ screamed out pitifully while the toxin instantly spread all over his body, causing his complexion to suddenly turn pale from the intense pain. Along with the feeling of dizziness, he almost directly fainted. There is an enemy. Feng Situ was only able to shout few words, then finally saw that a strange double-edged flag had pierced into his body. As his voice faded, he actually saw that the flag embedded in his body started to suddenly release large amounts of toxic gas, and the toxic gas instantly filled the surrounding area of over a radius of hundreds of meters. When the disciples of Tianfeng Hall, who were at the Xiantian Great Realm, came in contact with this toxic gas, their whole bodies were corroded and turned into a pile of bones. The toxicity of this gas was simply hard to imagine. Even Luo Yifan and Sister Shu were instantly affected by the poison, but fortunately, their reaction speed was much faster than those disciples of Xiantian Great Realm. Moreover, their strength was also much higher. The toxic gas spread out very fast and filled the surrounding area, stopping them to move freely. Scatter out! Luo Yifan severely bellowed and agitated the Zhenyuan throughout his body. It seemed as if his clothes were filled with air and bulged out, followed by a surge of terrifying blast of Zhenyuan that instantly dispersed the toxic gas. Who actually dares to attack us? Luo Yifan shouted in an angry tone. They were planning to ambush someone else here, but he never thought that they would be the ones to get ambushed instead. This feeling was simply very depressing. Go to hell! Yishuan shouted in a loud voice and chopped out his blade. Thousands of blade light appeared and instantly formed a dense and severe rain of dazzling blades, directly falling towards Luo Yifan to chop him down into pieces. What, Yi Shiwen, it's actually you. Luo Yifan did not expect that the one to ambush him would actually be Yi Shiwen. How was this possible? How could Yi Shiwen possibly be hiding here to ambush him? Luo Yifan, you actually conspired against me. Yi Shiwen sneered disdainfully and said, I have already ripped your plot into shreds. Die! Luo Yifan severely roared in and raised his sword towards the rain of blade light. Boom! Chapter 166-1, Luo Yifan beheaded, boom. With a loud bang, Bladiki and Swordki fiercely collided with each other, casing a massive explosion while seemed like the blossoming of fireworks, and the terrifying blast force directly sent the debris of the palace complex flying in all directions. At this time, due to this fierce collision, Luo Yifan had to immediately and hastily retreat. He was directly shaken by the power of this collision and was pushed back in the midair, compelling him to crazily draw back several dozen steps before stopping, while an incredible look appeared on his face. Just now, it could be said that the two sides had recklessly attacked at the same time, but it was actually Yi Shiwen who had the upper hand. Luo Yifan certainly knew that the last time he fought with Yi Shiwen, it was actually him who had fallen under the wind, and Yi Shiwen had almost reached the point of beheading him. He had been suppressed by Yi Shiwen in their last fight, but one must know that at that time, Luo Yifan's strength was only slightly weaker than Yi Shiwen. In fact, Yi Shiwen had to go through a tangled warfare with him for a very long time to slowly exhaust his stamina to gain an upper hand. However, at this time, he discovered that Yi Shiwen had simply become much stronger than before, to an extent that it was quite terrifying to imagine that his cultivation could advance so much, and that too in such a short time. Not even 10 days had passed since their last fight. If the current Yi Shiwen was compared to his self when Luo Yifan fought him few days ago, then it seemed as if Yi Shiwen was reborn with his strength enhanced by leaps and bounds. How is this possible? How can you suddenly become so much stronger? Luo Yifan was suddenly scared to death, but soon adjusted his mood and calmed down, and a shrewd look flashed in his eyes. He had become even more curious and interested about this secret of Yi Shiwen, and determined in his heart that he would certainly seize this secret from Yi Shiwen at any cost. It seems you are not aware of your imminent death, to think you still continue to devise plots, and that too in front of your own death. Yi Shiwen shouted in a loud voice when he saw the cunning look flashing in Luo Yifan's eyes. How could he not know about the wishful thinking of Luo Yifan? The long blade in Yi Zaiwen's hand instantly released a burst of terrifying blade light. A seemingly infinite blade light was instantly chopped out and rushed towards Luo Yifan to chop him into pieces. You are courting death. Suddenly, that sister Shu Han finally also stepped into the battle and attacked. The red-colored silky damask went towards Yi Shiwen at a lightning speed, and appeared just like a red serpent. It suddenly arrived in front of him in a blink of an eye. Humph! Yi Shiwen coldly snorted but didn't stop. His long blade still kept going towards Luo Yifan at an extremely fast speed. But, at this time, he immediately used Coiling Dragon Palm. His left hand turned into a malicious dragon claw and went towards the red damask and directly grabbed it. Rip it apart. The red damask, which was actually made up of Zhen Yuan, was directly grasped in Yi Zaiwen's dragon claw, and in an instant, it was directly torn to shreds with just one flick of his dragon claw. However, at this time, Luo Yifan noticed that this was a golden opportunity and immediately hacked down his sword. Suddenly, it seemed as if an ice dragon congealed out of nowhere and went flying towards Yi Zaiwen's blade attack. Boom! A terrifying collision occurred and set off layer after layer of shock waves in all directions. However, Luo Yifan's plan failed when he saw that his ice dragon was instantly split into two halves by Yi Zaiwen's blade light. Luo Yifan, you are doomed. I would like to see who saves you today. Yi Shiwen sneered and said in a cold voice. Today, he was planning to use his full strength and go all out in this battle in order to eradicate this scourge. Die! Suddenly, Feng Situ, whose entire body had been attacked by toxic gas, roared, and poisonous dragon water control flag was darted off his body instantly, and along with it, something crept out from the void. A 5 or 6 meters long and approximately 2 meters wide huge totem crept out of the void and flew straight towards Yishuan. At this time, all of a sudden, Yishuan felt a divine suppression coming from this totem and noticed that this huge totem was exuding an ancient aura which was actually suppressing him. Feng Situ had found this huge totem while wandering about in an ancient ruin. Although he found this totem in the ruins and could not determine its specific grade, but it was very strong and could simply deter the world itself. It could be seen that a master at the second stage of Truth Realm was truly a peerless existence. Even if Feng Situ had been attacked and poisoned by the poisonous dragon water control flag and that too all of a sudden, he had been able to issue such a fierce attack. Yishuan immediately dodged by quickly flying several feet away from the range of the huge totem falling towards him and somehow managed to escape range of this attack. Boom! The entire totem severely smashed on the ground and created a giant crater. But at this time, Luo Yifan's sword had already arrived in front of Yishuan, and it seemed just like a serpent flying towards him. Luo Yifan was looking for an opportunity and bitterly stabbed towards Yishuan with all his might. Shwa! The poisonous dragon water control flag instantly activated, a roaring deep-water black serpent roared loudly and flew out of the flag, and while still roaring and its mouth wide open, it flew towards Luo Yifan carrying boundless toxic gas along with it. This was the deep-water black serpent that was used as a basis by Yishuan in refining the flag. The soul of that deep-water black serpent was caught and directly inserted into the poisonous dragon water control flag, hence it became its tool spirit. In order to increase the might of this divine tool, it was necessary for the tool spirit to have its own wisdom and mystical powers. The deep-water black serpent's huge body suddenly appeared in the air like a cluster of massive black clouds and was simply hiding the sky and covering the earth. Although it was only a soul, but it had drawn support from the power of poisonous dragon water control flag to transform into an energy entity. Opening its sacrificial bowl-like big mouth and releasing bursts of toxic gas, it fierce bit towards the incoming sword-light attack and instantly corroded it, leaving nothing behind, but after that, it did not stop and flew straight towards Luo Yifan and arrived in front of him. "You filthy beast!" Luo Yifan shouted and shot a burst of sword light, and it seemed as if stars were falling from the galaxy. The sword light severely collided with the body of Deepwater Black Serpent. Puchi! The body of Deepwater Black Serpent, which was actually an entity made up of condensed energy, instantly exploded, and along with this big explosion, endless amount of toxic gas spread in the surroundings. Only in a flash, the protective layer of Zhen Yuan on Luo Yifan's body was corroded and some areas of his flesh were also corroded and melted, making him to suddenly shout pitifully due to the intense pain. Chapter 166-2, Luo Yifan beheaded in the gas cloud, a figure suddenly leapt up, and accompanied by a loud whistling sound, a terrifying blade light cut through the gas cloud and instantly appeared in front of Luo Yifan. Luo Yifan, today is the last day of your life. You probably never would have thought that your plan to ambush me would actually backfire, and now, you are going to die at my hands. Yishuan laughed loudly and said. Seeing that he was about to get rid of an enemy, Yishuan was really feeling great. Luo Yifan was suddenly taken aback and felt startled in his mind, but at his side, the fearful black figure of Deepwater Black Serpent congealed once again, because its body was made up of condensed energy, so the physical attacks simply had no effect on the Deepwater Black Serpent. It had already died and was nothing but a soul. Once again, the Deepwater Black Serpent opened its sacrificial bowl-like terrifying mouth and advanced towards Luo Yifan to completely swallow his entire being. Two terrifying attacks were advancing towards Luo Yifan, but this time, whether it was Sister Shu Han or Feng Situ, both of them were simply too far away and weren't able to rescue him, and before they could do something to save Luo Yifan, in just a flash, Yishuan immediately arrived in front of him. "I don't accept this. How can this be happening to me?" Luo Yifan shouted in a depressed manner. How did this happen to him? Up until today, he was fully confident that along with the disciple of Tianfeng Hall, he would be able to successfully ambush Yishuan, then after finding out about that secret, they would kill Yishuan and that would solve all his worries. If before, Yi Shiwen was an ant-like existence in his eyes, then later, it could be said that Yi Shiwen had become an eyesore and a possible future threat in the eyes of Luo Yifan. However, right now, Yi Shiwen seemed to have become such a threatening existence that he was once again so close to taking his life. Yi Shiwen grew so powerful when Luo Yifan was not paying attention to him. So he was planning to use any means to get rid of this Yi Shiwen and completely eradicate him from the face of the earth, then only he would be able to get rid of the worries in his heart. He knew, Yi Shiwen also felt the same way. Luo Yifan had already guessed that Yi Shiwen was planning to eradicate him and finish the source of this hatred once and forever, so he planned to act first and kill Yi Shiwen before he grew any stronger, but he never thought that his own team would be counter-ambushed by Yi Shiwen. In that instant, Luo Yifan recalled all the things that happened between him and Yi Shiwen. However, rather than cursing his own arrogance, there was a big regret in his heart that he did not kill Yi Shiwen while he was still small and weak like an ant. He was arrogant, and now he was unable to kill Yi Shiwen, which was also going to be the main reason behind his disastrous death. Yi Shiwen roared loudly, a dazzling blade light flashed and chopped down the sword light of Luo Yifan into pieces, then rushed straight towards Luo Yifan. Puchi! The blood spattered from Luo Yifan's entire body. He was sent flying high into the sky, while there was still an incredible look on his face. It was just too hard for him to believe that he actually died at the hands of Yi Shiwen. After beheading Luo Yifan, Yi Shiwen instantly rushed towards that sister Shu Han. She panicked and instantly congealed the red damask to block the advancing Yi Shiwen. It seemed as if the red damask was releasing waves of water on the surface of a red ocean, layer by layer stacking up. The total might was infinite and severely pounded towards Yi Shiwen. Shwa! The blade light dazzled throughout the sky, the bright flash exuded from it obscured the entire atmosphere, and that red damask was split in half and fell apart. Missing Moon Beheader. Yi Shiwen instantly chopped out the second blade. Then the third blade, fourth blade, and fifth blade. The combined strength of these blade lights was much stronger than the attack of Shu Han, and after defeating her attack, at the last moment, the terrifying might of each of these blade attacks condensed into a single malicious blade attack and fiercely collided with her body. Puchi! Blood spattered everywhere, her flesh and blood flew and scattered in all directions. Sister Shu Han had been effortlessly beheaded by Yi Shiwen. He didn't show even the slightest mercy and directly chopped her down into pieces. Poisonous dragon water control flag flew back into Yi Ziwen's hand, then began to rotate around him, releasing a faint and creepy black light. Yi Shiwen slowly walked toward the last survivor, Feng Situ. You are Yi Shiwen? Feng Situ was staring at Yi Shiwen and said. Yes. Yi Shiwen did not conceal his identity and said. I never thought that it will actually be us who get ambushed and killed by you. Feng Situ said with emotion. By this time, the toxin had fully spread throughout his body, causing his complexion to pale. Yi Shiwen also secretly admired this peerless master because the skill and strength of Feng Situ were really profound. If a master at the first stage of Truth Realm was in his shoes, then perhaps, he would have died by now. However, Feng Situ was able to hang on for so long and was also able to unleash the huge totem attack, which was simply unthinkable and admiring. You brought this upon yourself. Unjust and evil action takes you towards your own doom. This time you intended to ambush and kill me, and you never thought the same can happen to you? Yi Shiwen indifferently said, but did not relax and maintain a constant vigilance. He would never underestimate Feng Situ. Once there was any movement, he would immediately behead him. Ha 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 ha, you believe in that? Justice and in this world. I do not believe in such a thing. This time I lost to you because our plan was insufficiently devised and we underestimated your strength. We never thought that you actually possess such strength, so it's not unjust if I lost to you. Feng Situ lifted his head upward and said. You talk too much. Yi Shiwen said in a somewhat cold voice, then raised his hand and chopped out his long blade. Puchi! Feng Sita's head was severed and sent flying. Chapter 167-1, Poisonous Dragon Water Control Flag Array. After beheading Luo Yifan and the other two truth-level masters, Yi Shiwen did not stay there for a long time. He immediately plundered the wealth of these three people and quickly left. But, this time, the news of the death of three true disciple-level figures was enough to shake up the entire Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall. One must know that there were only few hundred true disciples even in a large sect like Yi Yuan School, and each of them were considered elite among the elites and were no different than extremely priceless treasures, nurtured by their respective sects over decades or even centuries. There were many true disciples who left behind soul jade slips in the sect, and in case a true disciple was to die, his soul jade slip would immediately break and alarm the sect. Sure enough, not long after Yi Shiwen left, the entire East China Sea was in commotion. Three truth-level masters had died at the same time. Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall were extremely furious and sent many experts to perform a thorough investigation, but Yi Shiwen had already taken precautionary measures. He had already destroyed their corpses, leaving no trace, so the experts could not find out anything. But after all, this matter happened in the nest of pirates. Although all of the members of Crazy Shark 13 Pirates group were obviously already dead before the investigators arrived at the scene, but Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall also needed to vent their anger, and thus, bad luck was about to befall the pirates very soon. Both Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall mobilized large battalions, comprised of formidable experts, and they began a large-scale cleanup operation in the nearby regions of the place where the incident had occurred. During this cleanup operation, a lot of pirate nests were destroyed and innumerable pirates were massacred in the process, but these experts did not dare to annoy the pirate groups that were originally part of the alliance of 99 Pirates Union. The so-called 99 Pirates Union was actually the alliance of 99 large pirate groups that roamed fearlessly in the endless East China Sea. These pirate groups had formed a very formidable alliance named 99 Pirates Union and roamed bravely in the waters of East China Sea. They had composed this alliance to strengthen the strength of pirates. They worked towards safeguarding the interests of pirates, and 99 Pirates Union also acted as the chief moderator and managed the fights between pirate groups. Generally, when forces tried to make large-scale raids in the East China Sea in order to wipe out the pirate groups, they had to face severe counterattack from furious and formidable 99 Pirates Union, but this time, the matter involved two large sects. If there was only one, then there was a little scope of negotiation. However, the matter involved two large sects of Great Yu State, and not just that, three truth-level masters had died at once, which was enough to invoke extreme fury. That could simply burn the heaven itself. Who would dare to Steputan try to block such a raging fury? It could be said that these pirates who had to face the cleanup operation had a severe bad luck. Other people thought that the two large sects were venting anger on these pirate groups, but only Yi Shiwen knew that they should rather vent anger in their own hearts, because it was actually one of them who caused this incident, though it was radically trivial to mention it now. The primary purpose of both of these large sects was deterrence, to deter annoying existences like pirates and use any excuse to do that, for example 99 Pirates Union. Although it was only a loose alliance of 99 pirate groups, but its strength was very large. In fact, their overall strength was only slightly weaker than the strength of the five major forces of Great Yu State. It could be said that it was a very intrepid existence. If it was a peacetime and the five forces combined their strengths and attacked 99 Pirates Union, it would have been possible to crush them and remove their strong influence from the East China Sea, but at present, the situation was not normal throughout the Great Yu State, and there was chaos spread everywhere in the state due to the sudden rising of Bai Majiao organization. They were igniting trouble everywhere. At this time, the five forces needed to stay calm and stable, at least until they would completely destroy Bai Majiao organization. Although the five major forces had always considered 99 Pirates Union as a troublesome existence, but this was not the time to act against this intrepid force off East China Sea, because there was a risk of this matter going out of hands. After all, no one trifled with the members of 99 Pirates Union, because there were several truth-level masters among their ranks. If the major forces wanted to annoy them, then it would naturally not be a minor matter and might cause a large-scale disaster. In this case, the two large sects were using this incident as an excuse and nice opportunity to perform a raid in order to reduce the strength of the 99 Pirates Union, and on the other hand, they were also trying to deter these lawless pirates. However, these pirates also precisely knew about this, so they were bearing patiently and were not sending their own forces to stop the cleanup operation because they knew that the two large sects were actually not trying to destroy them. This was only a warning. If the pirates tried to take actions and retaliate, it might incite the sensitive nerve of these two large sects and annoy them, and at that time, there was a major risk that their retaliation would not only send these two large sects in a fit of anger, it might even induce a joint attack from other three large forces as well, and that would ultimately turn into a mass-scale sweep operation against 99 Pirates Union. This was the common will of the five forces, although their own duties were not small, but at this time, all of them were busy in the maintenance of stability and consistent prosperity in the Great U State, all the while safeguarding their statuses as the large forces and in turn also maintaining a balance of power throughout the state, so at this time, who would dare to come out and take the lead? This cleanup operation was not only a warning for the 99 Pirates Union, but it was also a warning for the various forces within and outside the borders of the Great U State. The might of the alliance of the five large forces of Great U State was huge. It was a warning for other forces that they must never provoke the formidable alliance of five forces of Great U State. However, Yi Xuan simply had no participation in the coordinated actions of Yi Yuan School and Tianfeng Hall because he was actually taking advantage of this situation and constantly raiding the pirates of several truth-level pirate captains. He managed to seize a lot of spirit stones and he also amassed lots of heavenly treasures, many medicinal herbs that could act as raw materials for medicinal pills. After plundering so many resources, Yi Xuan sighed with emotion. He had actually started to feel that robbery really was the world's fastest way to earn money. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.